Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome to the Orlando Kart Center. My name is DJ Clark. Delighted to be joined up in the booth by Jackson Lambros. Jason Ewers will be joining us a little bit later on. But it is a new year. It is a new season. It is a new Florida Winter Tour, but it is the same old digs. We are back in Orlando for rounds 1 and 2 of the ROK Cup Florida Winter Tour. Karts are headed out onto the track. It's a beautiful day to go racing, Jackson.
And that's kind of surprised us this morning with just how frigid it's actually been. We talk about coming to the Sunshine State and 32 the ambient this morning during warm-ups, but it is really warmed up on track, and especially with the rain coming in last night, new clean slate for a lot of these drivers to come in and lay down this Levanto rubber. VLR Junior on track for heat number 1, excuse me. Or I believe we are actually wrapping things up with qualifying here. And it is Isaac Malquit first to the line. Brief red flag earlier putting us just a little bit back on schedule. But following the front of this pack right now, that's Isaac Malquit for Brandon Jarsuak racing the LN kart just behind Nico Katowski for Trinity Karting Group in the 892. And DJ, looking at our numbers earlier, VLR Junior definitely one that's going to be a show for us to look for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely stacked here at this point when we talk about the numbers that are coming on in. So much so that we actually did have a little bit more of those drivers, so many of those drivers that we had to split this up into different classes here. Different qualifying groups, and so that's really going to change things around. And now as we get ready to go, we actually came up a little bit early on you here. We meant to come up for the first round of racing here for the ROK Shifter Masters and the Shifter Super Masters, but we're going to keep it through qualifying. Let's go ahead and get that timing and scoring tower up on the side of our screen just so we've got it. And there you can see Darren Kidd leading the way, and it is Santiago Orioli, Eli Steinbrook, Jordan Martin, and Emilio Bolanos leading the way in the top 5. 58.47, the early time to beat. Only 5 minutes left to go on the clock, so you got to get those laps down early. But I think one of the storylines we are going to be following this weekend, Jackson, is definitely what you hit on early. Cooler temperatures here. It is January. We do kind of come to expect that, but I think especially frigid here. So it's going to take a lap or two for these Levanto tires to come up to temperature. Look for these times to continue to fall over the course of this session.
And Levanto rubber in the spectrum of what we see for karting tires, a little bit more on the rougher end. So harder, longer lasting life, but a little bit more resistant to being laid down. And when you combine that with really cold ambient, really cold track temperatures, grip really going to be at a premium. We talked about kind of over grip being an issue come Sunday, but I think at this point we're kind of going to be in that equilibrium of just getting the right amount of grip to get proper rotation, but not where you're getting kind of those grip hops of the car not fully wanting to come around in the corner. But ultimately, time will tell. We shall see. We've got maybe an opportunity for rain overnight Saturday, maybe Sunday afternoon. But we will have to wait and see. 3 minutes, 50 seconds on the clock. Darren Kidd, your fastest in the MDR machine. One of the home races for them as we follow Eli Steinberg just coming to the line here. I believe that was best for third quickest, but everybody's starting to restack here with 3.5 minutes on the clock, DJ.
Exactly what we talked about is these Levanto tires continue to come in a little bit more. We're going to see more and more speed from them as we do continue to watch Eli Steinbrook making his way around in that Orsalon chassis. Very easy to distinguish that green and white with a little bit of the yellow highlights. You are not going to miss those karts that's running right behind him. One of the Lando Norris machines as well. Isaac Malquit does hold the lead right now over Katowski. Tristan Murphy, who we mentioned earlier, is in fourth. Keep in mind, he was P3 in ROK Vegas just a couple of months ago. Seems like a lifetime ago for me, but it's certainly he's going to be one to keep an eye on. Now, Jackson, we should probably break down the way this is all going to work out. For those who are unfamiliar to the ROK Cup world, the karting world, we qualify, but then we have a series of heats that leads our way to the finals come Sunday. How do the positions break down over the course of the weekend?
So points-based system, 3 rounds of heats. We'll do the first one this afternoon, 2 and 3 tomorrow, and that will essentially determine your starting position for the pre-final. That'll be Sunday morning, and basically whatever you do in the pre-final, you'll get championship points, but your order for that will remain the same for the main event. Whoever wins the main event, they're getting the trophy.
All right, it's a pretty good breakdown about exactly how I would say it. João Pereira in third, Darren Kidd is in fourth, Murphy's been moved down to fifth. Orioli in that 825, that was Steinbruck in the 825. Orioli, his teammate, in the 803. He holds on to sixth place. Cole Anderson and Gail Rampazzo in eighth. Elefante ninth, and Roy Chang in 10th. Here comes the next drivers across the line right now. Going to see a little bit of movement around there. Eli Steinberg, one of those drivers we talked about, moves his way forward. The 870 of Malkut is leading this little pack right now in the Lando Norris Kart. He is going to find his way into P2. About a tenth of a second, call it, that's about 1400ths off of Nico Katowski up at the top of the field. Minute 30 left on the clock. Important to remember, you will be able to finish your flying lap. So these drivers are going to want to push as hard as they can.
And important for us to remember too, DJ, this is qualifying Group B, our biggest group here, so we split 44 in half. So not actually our slower group, but technically go off of practice results from yesterday, chop it in half, basically clean down the middle here from odd times. So your odd times based off of practice results yesterday out on track. And Nico Katowski right now, wish I had that magic number from Group B that they're trying to beat right now. But we talk about how knife edge 100cc racing is in general, but in this case, VLR, very similar to what you might see in Briggs & Stratton Tillotson Racing, four-stroke, very knife edge on the gap. Talking to Tristan Murphy earlier on, draft is going to be very, very important, just like we saw at Vegas. And when you're able to get, in this case, Nico Katowski 0.16 over Isaac Malkut, that is an eternity. So Nico Katowski in that Burrell really has something dialed in early on with 20 seconds in. He'll get to the line. No improvement just yet. Looks like he'll have one more opportunity here in the 892.
Yeah, and I think crucially here when we talk about Malkut, who I'm not sure, I think he's just going to make it to the line to be able to get another one. He may be a little bit tight here as he comes through the final corner. That's going to be turn 12. Here comes Malkut to the line right now. He's ducking down. I think he caught the checker there. And I was going to say here, keep an eye on Malkut. We're looking at the last time. Can we get that changed to fastest overall by chance? I think it's interesting that Malkut slowed down a little bit. Is there, he goes up to the top by 200ths of a second over Katowski. Nico Orbezo jumping his way up, and Malkut did clear in time. He crossed in time. You can tell that by there not being a checkered flag next to his name. So he will be able to continue on and get another one here as they continue to keep going around right now. Drivers making their way back down into pit lane if they did not finish on that flying lap once again. Let's keep our eyes on Malkut and Katowski. I do see a couple of them still out on track. Got those two drivers coming to the line right now. I'm assuming that is Malkut and Katowski. A little bit of a push. Here they come to the line right now. Let's see if these top two change positions at all. Malkut is pipped by Katowski at the break and the buzzer there. 400ths of a second. A great run for Katowski. That is very, very impressive to be able to respond like that under that kind of pressure.
And only 200ths the gap in that lap before, just when the checkered flag was coming out. Malkut by 200ths over Katowski. We thought Malkut had it in the line, but Nico in the 892 able to eke it out barely. Still knife edge under a tenth separating them. Quick look at your results here and how they'll line up. I believe this will be the outside row as we get started here. So Katowski, Malkut, Nico Orbezo looking really fast in that Iron Rock Motorsports machine. Tristan Murphy, we'll see what he can do. One of our double duty drivers this weekend from P4. You're looking back a little bit further. Eli Steinberg, Marco Romero, another really busy guy this weekend. Really, really star-studded group here in VLR Junior. For sure going to be a group to look out for.
Yeah, it really and truly is. All right, now we're going to get ready here, line up to be able to get going for your Rock Shifter Masters and Super Masters. But before we get to that, because it will take a couple of minutes here to get everything together, I think we're going to have a quick little break in the action. Jackson, I want to talk a little bit about this circuit at the Orlando Kart Center. Now, when we were here last year, I know you weren't there, but I'm going to talk for you. And when we were here last year, there was a lot of non-runoff, particularly at the edges of turn 1, down into turn 3, turn 4 as well. We talked a lot, really a lot, at the exit of turn 3 about dipping those tires off into the dirt on the outside. We saw some big ruts that were formed by the end. Well, OKC here, the Orlando Karting Center, has been able to kind of turn that in, take things in, and you can see there on your screen right now, put in a little bit of that paved runoff. Now, there are some portions of that that are flat that merely have the sort of visual bumps on them, and then there are some parts that do actually have physical speed bumps on them that cause the kart to undulate a little bit, to hit harder as they come off the corner. We've had a chance to talk to a couple of the drivers about it. It's a little bit of a mixed bag in how they think about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think Scott Falcone, one of our masters, not a huge fan of it. Believe it kind of takes away from the discipline of what was formerly a really funky corner on entrance, almost doing a Scandi flick with the nose pointing outside before you turn into the apex. But talking to Caden McQueen and a couple of the senior level drivers, they're fans of it. I think we talk about this old school style of circuit being narrow, being challenging, being bumpy, and a lot of these senior guys where the competition is so knife edge, I think they see just that even half of a kart length giving those guys an opportunity to overtake a little bit easier. And again, we talk about SV Pro, which carries over that lottery system. Going to be very, very close for us to see. But on track, you're seeing your ROK Shifter Masters and your Shifter Super Masters working their way out on track. Cole Matthewson going to be on the pole alongside Matthew Stafford for VTM. Morten Von Tock, the VTM head in the 68, will be alongside Farshawn Bagheri. That'll be for your Super Masters a little bit further back. Edgargo Ortiz, Corey Aberhart, Ryan Corbally, who we saw at Vegas, and Skitchy Barnes rounding out your field of 8. In total, it'll be 3 in Masters, 4 in Super Masters.
All right, as we get ready to turn back here and get the clock ready to go. Again, this is going to be timed racing, 9 minutes plus 2 laps. And one of the differences that we do see here in the shifter categories, we do have standing starts. So European style starts, the way they get going. You'll see them all come into the line here, waiting for that last minute. Looked like that was I think that was
Matt Sanford.
Oh, was that Sanford?
Yep, a little bit slow there to get to the grid, but still promised his spot. You see these guys rolling back just a little bit to preload the chain, not give that time for it to be taut during the launch. But the green flag is out, the visors are down, and for the 28th time, we're ready to go racing and have some serious fun in the Florida Winter Tour.
All right, lights are out on the safety beam, and we get going racing. It's a very good getaway there from Cole Matthewson as they dive down into turn 1, and it's pretty single file as things go along. We'll wait for that timing and scoring tower to reset itself, but already a move down into turn 1 there. That was Sanford and Matthewson trying to sort themselves out. Matthewson looking this way, looking that way, and trying to defend himself here from Matthew Sanford. Sanford definitely looking aggressive there, and I believe Sanford's been able to get ahead of him now as they dive down into turn 6. Yes, indeed they have. That's the 502 ahead of the 533.
And that's actually a pump fake we got from the timing. It was a slow start, as we mentioned there, from Skitchy. Barnes, he was the one that made that big dive on Cole Matthewson. Matthewson making that big dive we saw into turn number 5, trying to put the pressure early in that Rocket Racing 533. And very quickly, it's starting to become a 2-car breakaway. Skitchy Barnes, though, not cracking just yet. You see a little bit further back, Matthew Sanford leading the rest of them. Corberly with a really good start as well. 2 positions gained from the start there, DJ.
And not sure where Morten Von Tock has ended up here. The South African trying to be able to get his way back forward. I think he may have been a DNS, but we're going to keep our eyes here on Skitchy Barnes, Cole Matthewson. As you said rightly here, Jackson, a 2-kart breakaway up at the front of the field, and it looks like Skitchy's starting to put the power down here. Now, this is really the hard technical section of the track. 6, 7, and 8. It's a big commitment area, a big run. Very, very difficult to be able to get the kart lined up and slowed down coming down into turn 8, the junkyard turn.
And I think what people fail to understand outside of regular karting is you compare single speed to shifters, and yes, it is a lot faster in a straight line, but the weight difference is incredibly noticeable. talking to a lot of guys doing double duty, especially in the Pacific Northwest, talking to Massimo Valiente, who will normally do 125cc and then go jump in a shifter. He says, my arms noticeably hurt, especially in those slower, tighter chicanes. So for a lot of these guys, especially the Masters, talking to a couple of them after qualifying, not surprised that they were out of breath after just 5 minutes on track.
Yeah, you had a chance to talk to Morn, and he was visibly out of breath and audibly tired as he got out of the kart. Again, Morn Von Talk in the 68, not on track at the moment, so we're going to have to maybe get some information on exactly what happened to him. I know he was chasing some issues in the kart earlier on in the day, and so those may have come back and hopefully proved not fatal, but maybe something happened there. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Skitchy Barnes continues to lead from Cole Matthewson, but Matthewson taking the fastest lap of the race away from him here at this point by about 0.04 of a second. Skitchy Barnes knows that he's got pressure coming from behind. Matthewson trying to be able to attack down into turn 4. Now goes into turn 5. That's a tricky area to try to get it done. He's going to come out side by side, but it looks like momentum's going to favor back to Skitchy Barnes.
Just for now, though, but we're working our way into that long sweeping right-hander of turn number 6. But as we work our way back onto the straightaway, you can see the DRS being activated for Cole Matthewson, pushing that helmet against the steering wheel, trying to maximize that straight line speed on the anchors again here into turn number 9. Matthewson still putting the pressure on, but not striking just yet. And DJ, I think this is something that might have just came down to tire pressures. Not having it totally dialed in the start, but once we get up to speed, these Levantos get up to full pressure, the pace has, at least for the time being, gone back over to Matthewson.
Yeah, it's gone back over to Matthewson here, and I wonder if that could be also a little bit strategic. Maybe start with a little bit of lower tire pressures and sacrifice that early race speed in order to gain in the long run. So that could be a potentiality here. But again, Cole Matthewson holding on to that fastest lap of the race and definitely taking it away from Skitchy Barnes, this time to the tune of about, call it 0.2 of a second. So very, very good running there for Cole Matthewson, but it does look like Skitchy Barnes is starting to maybe pull away. The gap's about 3.5 of a second as they come down through turn 9, now into 10 and 11. A little flick there before they come into turn 12. This is the power down onto the main straightaway, or the start-finish straightaway at any rate. That gap was 3.4 seconds. It's now up to 0.4 of a second. So Skitchy Barnes starting to pull away a little bit.
Still almost a lockstep on pace here, 52.58 from Barnes out in front. Matthewson a 52.60. Ryan Corberly a little bit further back, a battle we haven't really been showing, but he is also starting to flex his muscle, 53.93 from one of the top VTM racing drivers. Again, Morn Von Talk ran program 6 karts alongside himself right now, and I think that's where the heavy stress has been for Morn so far, talking to him this morning, talking to him after qualifying. And we rewind the clock back to Vegas, DJ. He was a guy that was really not just trying to compete in that event, but really promote and grow Shifter Masters racing as a category. And he's been doing a brilliant job. One of the bigger pieces of the pie charts in entry this weekend on Shifter Masters. Should expect, talking to him this morning, a couple more coming in, hopefully, for our second race here in Orlando in February, but still a relatively healthy field here. Hopefully a couple more, though, later on.
Nice little battle farther back in the field. We just had our eyes on there for a moment. Going to switch our attention back up to the front of the field, though, and here comes Matthewson starting to put some more pressure there. And I wonder if this is a situation, how many times have we said this in the course of racing across the world, could be a little bit of an area where we've got maybe just trying to cool those Levantos down a little bit, get some roughness out of them, and make a larger attack. Now as I look at this, Skitchy Barnes starting to stretch away a little bit more. This could also just be a back and forth kind of thing, that Matthewson looks a little bit stronger on that sort of second sector of the track. And it could be a situation where he's just trying to claw back anything that he can. Yeah,
he was for sure overdriving it just a smidge there. You could see it almost three-wheeling on power coming out of turn 12. So we could see maybe a little bit of skirmishness from Cole Matthewson trying to close it down to Barnes. A little bit further back, Edgardo Ortiz trying to close the gap now on Farshad Bagheri. This will be the battle for your bottom step on the podium. And seeing some kart skittles a little bit further back here. Morn Von Talk supplying the engines. You got to bring your own chassis, though. Ortiz with that dark blue and chrome Praga, the TB Kart a little bit ahead there, and the chrome and red helmet of Farshad Bagheri. But up in front, Ryan Corbally still starting to run away with it, nearly 10 seconds the gap at this point.
And again, for those watching here on YouTube and around the world, the way to break that down, the yellow that you see on the left side of your screen and the numbers that start with 5, those are all going to be your Masters category. Orange are going to be Super Masters, and those are going to be your single or double-digit numbers that break those down. So this battle right now between Bagheri and Ortiz, this is for that silver medal. Second place on the podium for the Super Masters category.
Super Masters really growing as a category in the past couple of years. Talking to Ryan Corbally actually about it at the Rio during ROK Vegas, and he kind of described it as a breath of fresh air, as someone who's trying to stay involved in the sport. You still have this constant influx of talent, former senior drivers, former professional drivers in car racing, coming back to karting essentially and really flexing their muscle. And it gives kind of the same group that you grew up with, that you've remained racing. It still keeps you on an island of your own, a category of your own. And you look at some of these really fast guys right now in Masters, Jordan Musser, Billy Musgrave, especially at the Super Nationals. It gives these Super Masters still their own ability to not just kind of compete, but to have a good time.
Yeah, it certainly does, as Bagheri still continues to hold out. We can check back in on that battle for the front of the field. Skitchy Barnes holding out over Cole Matthewson. Over the last lap, Matthewson has fallen back a little bit. It's now about 7.5 tenths of a second between Skitchy and Cole. Let's see as they cross over the line. Going to be about 5 seconds left to go on the clock, so very close there. But now it will be 2 laps to go the next time these two come by the line.
And this could be the move that Matthewson has been waiting for. 52.7 for the last time by for Matthewson, a 52.46. So still very much a lockstep on pace. But Skitchy Barnes starting to run away with it just a little bit. Gap now growing to a second, DJ. And coming down the straight, it's going to be a really big send here if Matthewson wants any attempt of taking the lead here. But, I mean, it's still Friday afternoon. You've got until Sunday night for an opportunity. So looking like Skitchy Barnes going to run away with this one.
Well, you kind of read my mind on that there, Jackson. I mean, the fact that Cole Matthewson isn't necessarily all over the rear bumper here of Skitchy Barnes is not an indictment of Matthewson's kart. This could just be a situation where, okay, we got to change this, we got to just adjust that a little bit more, do this, that, or the other. You're going to keep working on these machines all weekend long. This is a growing process that will continue to evolve all the way till that final on Sunday.
And again, if I know that there's still some work that needs to be done when we get it back on the kart stand, back to the 10, why go through the effort of trying to kill myself to close a second gap, right? This is going to be a track that could also absolutely evolve my way. I know it's still the afternoon and the track could still have a little bit of heat in it. Maybe my pressures were a little bit off. Maybe I know I've still got something a little bit special here once we get to the main event on Sunday. But again, for these three, going to be a very long study session with one another. Matthew Sanford, though, still a lot for him to look for. Looking like a Sketchy Barnes-Cole Matthewson battle here.
Yeah.
In Shifter Masters.
Yeah, this is going to be a 1-2, I think, between Skitchy and Cole. No questions asked. They come down into turn 5, leading back onto that straightaway before they head into turn 6 for the final time in this heat race number 1 of the day. A little bit of bouncing over the curbs there for Skitchy Barnes, but it's not going to affect him too much. Matthewson was able to bring that gap down by about 0.2 of a second, but not quite enough to be able to make this a true battle between himself and Skitchy Barnes. Barnes holds onto the kart here, down through the flick of 10 and 11, down into turn 12. they go. The final corner on the track. Now just the sweeper that leads on to the start-finish straight, and Barnes will take victory here in the Masters category. The 5:09 rolling its way to victory. It really never looked like he was in doubt. Still waiting for Matthew Sanford to cross over the line. That is just a testament to the gap here that Matthewson and Sanford were able to pull. Sanford does cross over, rounding out that podium, and then Ryan Coberly will take victory in the Supermasters class. Farshad Bagheri will be in P2, Edgardo Ortiz P3.
And already, I think alarms are sounding over at the VTM camp. Yes, they did get the win in Supermasters, but man, Matthew Sanford really needs to get something figured out behind the wheel of that 5:02, and whether that's power plant based, whether that's chassis based. 13-second gap for a 9-minute heat. There is a lot of pace to be found there behind the wheel of the 5:02. But we'll step aside here for just a second from OKC and get ready here for KZ.
All right, so we're going to jump to a break here in a second. We'll be back with you shortly.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative ROK Cup USA production.
Welcome back to the Orlando Kart Center. There is more shifter action coming at you with the KZ Florida Winter Tour Heat number 1. Jackson, this one, well, same verse, not the same as the first, but pretty darn close.
Moving over a new era for ROK Cup after our first time in nearly 15 years. We didn't have shifter at the Florida Winter Tour, and finally returning, but this time in KZ, as we move over from ROK Shifter to the format very much used internationally. Mike Burrell kind of called it the flavor of the week, being the motive for us switching over. Still has faith in ROK Shifter as a category, but right now we see the appeal at the international level, and that's why so many of us have decided to pull the trigger. But an all-Sodi front row here, and it is Mateus Morgado, the new guy, in orange and chrome on the front row. Paulie Hart a little bit further behind in the Maranello machine. And then for VTM Racing, James Andres, Christopher Guram, and Joel Alves rounding out our 6-kart field.
All right, there you get the signal from the flag stand as eyes turn towards that pit stall up ahead. Here we go. Lights are out. It's a pretty good getaway there from Morgado. Karai going to try to fight him back a little bit, but not quite close enough. Paulie Hart going to keep in close in line. A little bit of a back and forth there between Guram and Andres, but now looks like everybody has been able to stay in single file order as they dive down into turn number 4. Now into turn number 5 they go, and Morgado starting to pull away at the front of this field.
You saw him cover early there into turn number 4, kind of white lining it down low, but immediately taking advantage of that clean air. Maranello kart of Paulie Hart in the 416 just behind, then that lime green helmet and red RS kart of James Andres battling early on for the bottom step of the podium. A little bit shallow on exit there as Andres was considering a move there. You could see how much curbing, though, up ahead there Hart was using to try and build that gap. First lap, and already a second and change the gap between Morgado and Karai.
I think this battle's going to be a little bit farther back in the field, and right now the battle that I'm watching is this one. James Andres and James, let me try that again. That's going to be James Andres and João Alves as they try to hold themselves together, the 486 and the 421. Right now, it does look like Alves is definitely starting to push a little bit more there. You mentioned earlier that Andres was definitely hopping over the curbs a little bit more, but it looks like they've settled down a little bit. The gap holding at about 0.3 of a second, but big slip and slide there for Alves. Almost got sideways and into Andres.
Well, it was actually Andres who went late on the brakes first. You saw the back axle kind of step out there, and both of them going really sideways. And I think that caught Alves by surprise, too. He went late on the brakes as well and went for that move. But no change. A little bit of a change further back, though. We just saw that, but a little bit further back on your picture. Chris Gierem in the AKT machine able to put Paulie Hart back for P6. But up ahead, James Andres trying that Charles Leclerc machine to build that gap over João Alves.
Trying to see if there's anything to be had here. A little bit of sideways action there from Andres, but he's able to hold on to it coming down through turn 6. That's not altogether unsurprising. We talked about there's a lot of horizontal load that goes through those Levanto tires down into that corner. Makes things very, very difficult to keep it in a standard line through that corner.
Still using plenty of curb there. James Andres in the 486, but back out in front, it's Matheus Morgado. Year number 1, race number 2. For Velocity Racing by Saudi. Race number 1 at the SCUSA Super Nationals ended up making contact with his teammate in lap number 1 for the main event. Not the way he wanted to get off to the right foot, but as of right now with a 1.7 second gap, and it's looking like start number 2 could for sure be win number 1 in orange.
Yeah, Morgado doing a great job to be able to pull this away. Like you said, 1.7 seconds, the gap over Karai, who is no slouch whatsoever. And this is a real testament to the speed here that Morgado has. And he is just keeping that kart nice and clean through the lines. Doing a very, very good job keeping everything together. Watch his line here coming through turn 1. You see him using a little bit of what we talked about earlier, that extra runoff at the entrance into turn 1. I was noticing this when I was watching some of these karts earlier in happy hour and in qualifying. They are using that added little bit of concrete to the outside to just push the karts over and just get that extra little bit of area to turn into turn 1.
And even if it's 2 tire lengths, right? Like that could be easily a half a second if you've got the courage to do it. So again, potentially going to be more lap time, absolutely going to be a little bit wider of a gap to potentially send it on the inside on Sunday. But talking to so many of these drivers, all of these descriptions of what they thought that the environment could be on track pretty much was ended by, we won't know until we go race to race, wheel to wheel racing. So we'll have to wait and see. Matheus Morgado now a 3-second gap over Dominic Karai. Last time by 50.7 for 151, 338 for Karai.
Yeah, and Karai, I've got to give him credit. He's gapping James Andres by about the same amount of time that we're seeing Morgado gap Karai. And what's crucial here is Andres has now been able to pull the gap on João Alves, and so that has changed things up. That gap's about 2.1 seconds as things stand. So it's not like Andres is having to look in his look behind him and check to see what's going on. He's able to keep things together. This is just outright pace from Dominic Karai. Again, could be a situation like we mentioned a little bit earlier, maybe started with a little bit of lower tire pressure and just waiting for that kart to come in a little bit more, but still plenty of dialing in to do as this weekend goes along.
I'll say this very, very frankly. I think Morgado absolutely came into this weekend in KZ as the one to beat regardless. 2022 FIA champion in KZ, multi-time national champion. It is for sure, he for sure comes in as one of the biggest names this weekend, not just in shifter, but in FWT in general. And by the way, the only driver to win a Florida Winter Tour champion on both single speed and shifter categories. So potentially some really big implications for him if he's able to walk away with this. Could be one of the winningest drivers in Florida Winter Tour history.
Yeah, stick with us. We may have a little bit of a trivia giveaway a little bit later on in the weekend about some of those winningest drivers, so make sure to stick with us the whole weekend. Again, we will be broadcasting pretty much all day tomorrow, getting going at about 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We are on Standard, right? Yeah, Standard.
Eastern, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know we were Eastern, but I wasn't sure if we were Standard or Daylight. Yeah, so... Yeah, there you go.
Potato, potato.
Potato, potato. But we are on Eastern Time. We'll be wrapping up tomorrow at about 5:30 or so. And then we'll be back at you again on Sunday. That'll get going at about 10 o'clock. And that'll be wrapping at about, call it 3:15, 3:30. So if you are a fan of karting and you are waiting for the doldrums of winter to come to an end so you can get out, make sure to tune on with us here on YouTube to be able to make sure to get your karting fix this weekend from the Florida Winter Tour presented by ROK Cup.
And we give you a fond hello to everyone watching, whether you're trackside on your phone in the tent right now, whether you're tuning in from around the world via our YouTube live stream. I'll go ahead and say this will be our first roll call for the day. Where you're watching from and who you're rooting for. 2 minutes on the clock right now. Looking good for Matheus Morgado in that Velocity Racing machine. The Brazilian, 5.5 seconds. Now over that 5.7 seconds up from Dominic Karai. Another quick check-in here. Looked like we had an issue for Paulie Hart as something has gone awry in that Maranello machine. Now 6 laps down, and I believe he's had to park it.
Hate to see that for Paulie Hart. We kind of suspected that when Christopher Guerin was able to get past him so easily, but that is really of no concern here to the driver up at the front of the field. Matheus Morgado just absolutely dominant in that 462. Running away with it. 5.67 seconds. Call it 6.382 seconds up at the front of the field. About a minute left to go here in the running. He'll probably have 3 laps to go at the line. It's going to be my guess.
So for everyone at home coming into this weekend, expecting Rock Shifter and now seeing KZ, you might be asking, what's the difference? Well, I texted our friend and someone who will be joining us a little bit later, Jason Ewers, on what that difference kind of is. And after trying to discern about a 3-paragraph essay, spec jetting for the Rock Shifter, KZ, again, open manufacturer, everything a lot more open to development. So free to develop your own jetting, and if you're an engine builder, you can do a lot more with it. So for Morn Van Tak, immediately that is an opening for him to maybe come in and supply his services. That's exactly why James Andres picked up the phone and had Morn supply his services here for round number 1. And right now it's working for him. 3rd fastest with João Alves trying to close that gap. I don't think there's going to be enough here. 5 seconds on the clock and we'll have the twin sticks coming out. Morgado, Karai, and Andres with Alves trying to give chase, but it's looking pretty equidistant right now, DJ.
Yeah, everybody's pretty evenly spread out here. I mean, the only real big 2 gaps are at the front and the back of the field. Morgado has about 7 seconds, and then Guerin has about 2 seconds up to Alves. Other than that, it's 5 seconds up and down through the list. So good running there are those twin sticks that you mentioned. 2 laps to go for Matheus Morgado, and so that is going to be only 2 more revolutions of this Orlando Kart Center for him. And you might be thinking here at this point, he's going to back off. He's not really going to try. I am going to tell you right now, he is not going to be doing that. You want to be pushing full bore this entire way because you want to maximize the knowledge you can get from these karts.
One, that, and I think number 2, the minute you're not giving it 100% of the time, much like a race car where you're trying to keep your tires up to temperature, get enough airflow over the wings to maximize downforce. This is a kart that's designed to be going 100% all the time. So when you back off just a little bit, there is no such thing as 80% because you're getting those Levantos out of their operating window. And just like that, Matheus Morgado indeed giving it full beans here, 51.181. That last time by, still competitive with Karai, and just needs 1 more circuit here to take heat 1.
8 seconds, 9.1 seconds, the gap now over Karai. Can he crack 10 by the time he comes back around? We'll have to wait and see what happens when he crosses over that timing and scoring stripe. Andres Alves about 6 seconds apart. Guillaume has been able to close down that gap under 1.5 here as things run. Out of the junkyard turn, down into turn number 9 goes Morgado, your leader and presumptive winner here at this point. He's really only got one true corner to go. He makes it through there. It's a gorgeous line coming out on the exit of turn 12. He will cross over the stripe and take the checkered flag. Mateus Morgado with a commanding victory here in KZ.
Dominic Karai having a boring race, a brilliantly boring race at that. No contest from Andres will bring that sister kart home in P2. James Andres for VTM brings it home in P3. João Alves putting the pressure on for that bottom spot on the podium early. He'll have to salvage a P4, and Chris Guerin comes to the line as well with a DNF for Paulie Hart.
All right, that's going to wrap things up here for KZ in the Florida Winter Tour. Again, that Heat 1 for your running. We have some of the big shows coming up next. It's going to be ROK SV coming up. Always one of the more exciting categories that we are able to see out on track. Very excited for that. We will go ahead and take a quick little break away from you. We'll be back shortly. All right, welcome back here to Orlando Kart Center. We are ready to go racing for one of the big events. That is ROK SV Jackson. We've got a full fleet of karts here, 23 ready to go. This is going to be fun.
One of the most well-received at ROK Vegas. Second verse, same as the first here as we bring it to Florida for the Winter Tour for the first time. And it'll be Blake Nash on pole, the ROK Super Final podium sitter, as well as top 5 finisher in SV. Will be alongside Alan Isambard, one of the top drivers, one of the guys we missed at Vegas. Had the sub out for Alessandro Di Tullio. He'll be alongside him in row number 1. Sebastian Vargas and Jose Alessandro Halfin, that'll be an all OTK row number 2. Then the young gun, Caden McQueen in P5 alongside Levi Sangrea. Chase Gassia-Lee, Enzo Vitamonte, Davin Roberts, and Andre Nicastro rounding out your top 10.
And unlike the races that we've seen previously, this will be a rolling start. Will bring their way through those grid positions and get their way ready to go. Blake Nash going to be bringing us around here. There you can see them lining up as they enter past the acceleration zone. There we go. Already some movement from there in the back as Nash is going to be able to hold on to the lead here. And it looks like there that Venegas is going to be able to try to slot in behind, but it is a big snake of cars coming down into turn number 3. I think Isambard may have been able to get going. A couple of karts going very, very wide down into 4, and there's one slow on the exit.
Big checkup for one of the Sodis, but another Sodi putting the pressure on early. Here comes Sebastian Venega and that rocket machine to P2, but just like that, Caden McQueen, that orange and chrome Sodi machine, 3 positions in the whole shot. It could be number 4. Some defense from Isambard further back. You saw him snake and the door is open. That was a big ship. Further back into turn number 9, I think on one of the Norberg Academy drivers, but Caden McQueen puts radar lock on the rocket.
Puts radar lock on him at this point, trying to close on in. They're going to cross over the stripe. We'll get that updated timing and scoring here, and it is going to be Venegas, McQueen, Nash, Sangera, and Vitomintin there as they try to all sort themselves out, but it's really a 3-4 car breakaway up at the front of the field. Venegas trying to be able to hold on as much as possible because he knows McQueen is behind him, and McQueen is not going to wait around.
His first time racing in America almost exactly a year ago. You were on the mic for his debut in slightly different colors with Energy Corsa. He gets an opportunity to run it back with a new team and a brand new chassis. And already starting to see a little bit of a breakaway here. Blake Nash kind of on an island right now, not necessarily within that drafting distance, but also not getting a push behind from Sangrea. So Blake Nash going to see what he can do right now to pedal on his own. But for Sebastian Venegas, he keeps Rocket out in front for the time being. A little bit of an adjustment there on the needles from Caden McQueen. I think an adjustment there of the air-fuel mixture and maybe running it a little bit richer here. He knows what he needs maybe to get to the point.
Yeah, and that's a little thing that you're going to see here in ROK SV is that you are going to see those little bit of changes that you can do. Again, like you said, changing that mixture, changing the fuel to air ratio going into those motors. Right now, Venegas holding off as best he can. McQueen starting to close in. You hit the nail on the head there, Jackson. Blake Nash closing in, not really closing in. He's in an island unto himself, as is Levi Sangera behind him. And let's see if Halpern's able to close in at all. He's about 1.3 seconds behind. This is really I'd call it extended 4-car breakaway up at the front of the field.
We'll have to see. Nash slowly starting to get within striking range, but a really great complex there is keeping McQueen out of striking distance. Very rarely do you end a straightaway with almost 4 or 5 kart lengths as the gap right now, but no pressure right now for Seabass from Caden McQueen. And going back really quick, what makes SV special? The replacement for the very long historied ROK GP power plant introduced last year at ROK Vegas on a raffle system. Random engine distributed to drivers each and every session, or each and every day, I should say. No abilities for an engine changer or a team to get their hands on it. Each engine sealed off at the end of each day. Drivers love the parity. We nearly had 60 at the Rio. They loved it so much, they brought it back for the full season here for FWT.
And I think that is an absolute testament to what we're seeing here. Here's Vitomontine and Nicastro duking it out a little bit. Nicastro trying to look for a little bit of an advantage down to the inside. It's not going to come out there. This is for 5th and 6th place right now. Excuse me, 6th and 7th. I was right the first time. Vitomontine and Nicastro as they try to sort themselves out, not necessarily playing, and they go.
Kart Republic leading that Cosmic of RPG right now. Nicastro getting his season started off in Houston for the SCUSA Winter Series, trying to carry that momentum right now from a top 10 as well. A lot of drivers going back and forth, doing a handful of racing, trying to warm themselves up for whatever they might be doing kind of towards the main season from April onwards. But right now, getting a lot of great wheel-to-wheel experience. A quick glance a little bit further back. That's another Rocket Racing machine.
That's Gassiet Lee and Eisenbard, I believe. And it looked like there for a second that we were going to see Eisenbard send an absolute stonker down into turn 9, but not quite close enough. Gassiet Lee looks like a little bit off as he tried to run around. Excuse me, that's Eisenbard and Roberts behind them. No, I was right the first time. Eisenbard had been able to get by Gassiet Lee. I'm having a lot of trouble today here, folks. Just deal with me. Gassiet Lee, though, trying to hold off, or Eisenbard trying to hold off Gassiet Lee, having recently gotten by him.
It's been the offseason. We got to knock the dust off
exactly.
here. Eisenbard really hemorrhaging speed here from the start, down 7 positions. CGL on the move, though. The Canadian, the American for Team Benek, 2 positions gained at the start right now, trying to carry that momentum a little bit forward. And yes, we talk about in a spec series like this, there's a little bit of reservation in knowing that it's only Friday, that you still got 48 hours to go this weekend before the final. But again, points are already up for grabs. We're going wheel-to-wheel racing for the best spot possible come Sunday. And I feel like that's why we've already seen so much aggression here in SV. And I think another part of that is because of the parity for wheel-to-wheel. If you have that opportunity to make a pass on another guy, you don't know when that potentially is going to come again. So being able to make the moves when you can, lock down the points when you're able to, when you know you can, that's why we're seeing so much Fangs out driving here.
I think you're absolutely right about this. I want to give credit to Alan Eisenbard, who's really starting to put some good moves here on the back of Andre Nicastro. Is there you see on your screen the 311 of Nicastro trying to be able to hold out a little bit. Oh, big gaggle coming up through the middle of the pack there. Looks like they all got through cleanly. That was just out the side of our commentary window. We'll make sure that nothing bad happened there. Again, Eisenbard taking a little bit of a peek down into turn 9. Not enough to play out, but he's going to keep things close together.
Vitomontine really going to be happy with all that battling behind. He'll he'll say, I'll go ahead and stretch that gap a little bit. Thank you very much. But RPG driver just ahead of them. Nicastro trying to fend off. Another little bit of a peak there. Far too narrow for us to potentially see a move there. And I think for Isambard, the goal right now is just try and run where you are. Maybe learn from the guys around you, but not necessarily ruin your shot at a victory on Sunday here on Friday. Really good exit there from Nicastro. And now the pressure goes to Chase Gassiet-Lee, trying to put it down. 4 karts kind of equidistant from one another. Little bit of a look further back from CGL, not getting too eager for it just yet. Oh, a little bit further back, battle for P10. Charlie Fonseca with a late lunge. Charlie Fonseca, we talk about the appeal for SV. Charlie Fonseca, easily one of the oldest drivers.
I don't think that's Charlie Fonseca. That's Gassiet-Lee and Garcia.
Was it? It was a little bit further back. We panned 316. And I'm seeing a Costa Rican helmet.
No, that is Fonseca.
There we go.
Buddy.
It's okay. It's okay. So Fonseca holding off Brian Zerves here, or excuse me, Brian Garcia. It's so hard to see these number plates.
It really is.
Fonseca, one of the well-renowned Costa Rican drivers in the Masters, but getting this opportunity, wanted to race still in 125 cc. So the 44-year-old, one of the oldest guys on the entry list in ROK SV, and is still driving like he's 24.
Well, there's the move down to the inside. That's going to be Isambard taking it away there from Nicastro, but Nicastro trying to fight back. Isambard has it in the bag. Nicely done. Move him up to P7.
Late fade on the brakes there, and just further back you saw Chase Gassiet-Lee almost try and domino them in the corner, tried bumping both of them and going through the inside. You saw the middle cart in that, though. Get off throttle. Kind of parked it on the apex, prevented any. And here's a big dive further back. That'll give the opportunity for Isambard. Plan and launches. Done deal. Now further back. Chase Gassiet-Lee able to make that move. Side-by-side racing action early here in Orlando.
Gassiet-Lee not able to hold on to that as Nicastro was able to fight back on him to 311, moving back up into 8th place. And for Isambard, he's going to try to stretch his legs off into the distance. There's that look behind from Nicastro, trying to see if he has to worry about an attack here from Gassiet-Lee. It doesn't look like he does. Gassiet-Lee's dropped a little bit of pace here, and I think that battle happening a little farther back might have helped out Isambard just so slightly. Let's check back in on the lead of the field. Sebastian Venegas really working his way forward. He's got a 1.3 second gap over Caden McQueen. That's impressive for 2 things. 1, it's Caden McQueen. 2, this is a spec series.
Again, though, Caden McQueen, only year 1 here of racing in America. Granted, race number 1 was at this very venue, but still getting used to live racing here stateside. Was talking to him a little bit this morning and just talking about the vast differences of European venues compared to the Americas. I think a part of that as well, though, if we pan back to Caden McQueen, he is fending off a lot of drivers. Matter of fact, Blake Nash able to get his way up into P2 just a little bit further back. That chrome blue machine able to put Caden McQueen back for P3 just a little bit further back. Levi Sangrea, the Canadian in the 355, might make that P4 for McQueen.
And last lap, that snuck up on me a little bit there. I was going to say Nash could have a little bit of time to try to close this down on Venegas, but it's not going to happen. Only 1 lap to go. I think if I'm Nash, though, I'm more concerned about what's happening behind me, and he was too, checking behind there on Caden McQueen. McQueen going very, very wide down into turn 5, just seeing if there's any sort of opportunity on that Nash Motorsports driver. Doesn't look like there is, but as they come down here into 6, 7, and 8, we could see a little bit of a sneak attack. Sarah Bradley last year was sending moves like it was her job down into the junkyard turn. Haven't seen it here. Nash feels the need to go defensive down into turn number 9. He's going to hold off that line. Venegas up in front. They're going to try to stay side by side. Not going to see anything there. They're going to keep it together. Up at the front of the field, though, Venegas is going to come across the line to take victory in heat number 1. Blake Nash with a hearty attack and a stout defense will take P2.
Really, really good defense there from Blake Nash. You saw him kind of go down low in turn number 9, but went off throttle on exit, kind of parking the bus, not giving McQueen that opportunity to throw the over-under. That's a risky move, though, because immediately it brought Sangria and Halfin back into the mix, but the California kid able to fend off on the inside, get it done for P2. But McQueen, Sangria, Halfin, and further back, Enzo Vitamontian, Alan Isambard were covering up to P7, Andre Nicastro, Chase Gassiet lead, Charlie Fonseca round out our top 10.
All right, it was a good race here for SV, and we've got more good coming at you in the form of ROK Jr. We'll go ahead and take a quick break away from you. Give our lovely voices just a little bit of a break. We'll be back at you shortly for ROK Jr.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative ROK Cup USA production.
Back at ROK Florida Winter Tour for the GP Juniors. Headed at you right now. This is some of our younger drivers ready to take to the track. Not the super young. We're not talking about micro or mini, but definitely on the younger side of things, which normally means a lot of fun.
One-man show for Ryan Perry Motorsports this weekend, running out of the Nash Motorsports 10. It'll be Tristan Murphy doing double duty, as well as Junior VLR. It's looking good for him so far, though, in ROK GP. He's on pole alongside the Red Bull Junior driver Josh Bergman, flying the flag for KR and MPG Motorsports. After that, an Iron Rock in the form of Nico Orbezo. Achilles Spierko, really great comeback in ROK Vegas to make the main event with Speed Concepts. He'll be in outside of row number 4. Andres Salazar, Clayton Stiles, Eli Steinberg, Franco Escato Lechuga, Arthur Cierto, and Alex Savage rounding out your top 10.
All right, as these drivers make their way around the customary run, again, not shifters here, so they will be starting in that rolling start formation. You can see the flagmen kind of giving them that, hey, cool it down a little bit, momentum there. As you said, Tristan Murphy, Josh Bergman going to be leading us to the green. They enter into the 2 columns here, past the cone, and there we go. We are racing, and what a getaway there for Tristan Murphy. And I think Orbezo is going to be able to follow him through, and maybe even Sapirko will be as well. That was a very, very good run for that outside lane.
Ooh, early look there from Bergman. He tried chipping it into turn number 4. Big contact there, side pod to side pod. Further back, I'm not entirely sure who that was, but Tristan Murphy still out in front. Bergman giving chase. And who's out in front further back? It looks like one of the Rockets. It is Andres Salazar, able to put Orbezo away for P3 at the start. And already 2-kart breakaway here, DJ, but it is big-time defense for Andres Salazar.
Yeah, big-time defense here, and I think throughout the whole field here as Bergman is definitely trying to put some moves up in front on Tristan Murphy as well. Bergman, as you said, a Red Bull Junior driver trying to be able to get his way forward, show off a little bit of impressiveness here, and this 2-kart breakaway up at the front of the field continues to go. Looking, not going to have it, but gets a little bit of a better run there, I think, through turn 2. Slip and slide on the exit of 3, though, and he's not going to have an opportunity to attack Murphy down into turn 5.
Nuclear move we missed a little bit further back. Eli Steinberg, the 225 Orsilon OTK, getting up 2 positions. He'll lead that kind of big freight train from from third on back. That will push the Rocket Machine of Salazar back to P5. Get a better look at the whole freight train now as we work our way down. It was turn 9 where that move was made earlier on, and you can see Josh Bergman activating that DRS, face down to the steering wheel, punching as small of a hole as possible in the air. And that's where for the more vertically blessed, it becomes very much a challenge. We saw that a lot with Cooper Becklin and Shifter at Vegas, almost scooting beneath the seat. And when these guys are hitting their growth spurts, they're almost wishing it's as late as possible, right, to maximize that straight line speed. But that little bit of extra speed, that's what's helped Orbezo get to the point.
And speaking of Orbezo, that's who we watch right now, followed by Salazar and Sapirko as they try to close on in on your Orsilon driver up in the lead of this little group. This is third place, final step on the podium here for heat number 1 for ROK GP Junior. Keep going now. There's the 268 of Salazar, trying to see if there's anything to be had. Close battle up in the front of the pack as well. There's that move. You saw it from Tristan Murphy. He certainly knows what's going on, ducking down in front of the steering wheel, trying to minimize that drag coefficient.
It's to no avail because all of a sudden Bergman is right on scene. You can see the aggression there from Murphy to try and build that gap using as much curb as possible, coming through 10 and 11, but the fight is on once again here for the lead. Bergman, little bit more narrow on entry. How's that going to work in the exit here coming out of turn number 3? We saw a lot of moves, attempts at moves earlier on in turn number 4, still just barely bumper-to-bumper contact there at the apex of 4. And the more these two battle with one another, or at least kind of spook each other out, that'll bring Orbezo, Salazar, and company certainly into the mix.
You read my mind there, Jackson. As I say, this is music to the eyes of Nico Orbezo right now. He's continuing to close in on the back of Bergman and Murphy. And they're not, I would say, battling. It's just more of a fact of, I think Bergman's having to check up his line a bit, change his line a bit, think about different moves to try to get past Murphy, and that's slowing him down, and that's allowing Nico Orbezo to close back in. Now they're going to come across the timing and scoring stripe once more. Let's see what that is as they come across. Let's see if we can get the gap there on the side. As they do get going. Looks like we don't have it here. That's okay. And there's a big group farther behind. That's definitely a little bit farther back in the pack. I couldn't tell exactly who that was. I think it was around Eli Steinberg.
I think that was Jack Katowski as well. They're able to get the move through. This is our huge gaggle. A little bit further back, Arthur Cordiero and others trying to work their way into the mix. Ooh, big lunge a little bit further back. So that is the Norberg Academy machine of Brandon Shore. This is just outside of the top 10, I believe, DJ. So a lot of guys trying to work their way through, but the 203 still out in front. Alex Savage in the U-Race machine just behind, but everybody looking for an opportunity here to get as much points as possible off rip.
Yeah, they want to try to get absolutely everything they can. As there we see him flying down through turns 1 and 2, putting the pedal down, trying to just see if there's any sort of advantage to be gained. Big moves this way and that way, diving down into turn 5. They're side by side.
Believe that's Nico Katowski, the 292 Burrell driver. Another double duty guy coming fresh off of Scusa in Houston. And frankly, weird that we've seen him this long to even work his way into the top 10. But he's putting the pressure on. He'll lead this pack. I'm not sure if there's any chance he'll be able to close that gap. Now you see the hemorrhage for sure, going all the way down low here to try and defend. Savage now trying to work his way around the outside, not able to get there.
Not able to do it, but he is going to be definitely in attack mode here. Is that 233 looking very hungry and not having to wait, or excuse me, the 238 there looking very hungry and not having to wait for too much longer. They're going to be 3 in a line as they come through the corner. A little bit more of a narrow line for them, and it's not going to play off.
One of the pupils for the legend, Ryan Norberg, gets forced to the outside clean. Textbook move there for Alexander Savage to move on through. Now it's all eyes to the 237. What's he going to be able to do? Clayton Stiles actually was the one there trying to put that move in and go through. Orbezo, the driver just ahead, able to put him away. Here comes Stiles with a late lunge and will fully clear him.
He'll fully clear him. Something's happened to Nico Orbezo up at the front of the field. He's fallen back through the order. Not sure if that's a glitch with our timing and scoring or if he has fallen down, but Eli Steinberg has now been able to close in within about 27 hundredths of a second up at the front. So there is action happening all over on this racetrack. We watch now Clayton Stiles trying to close in the 237. Onto the back there of Brandon Shore. Shore's going to get muscled to the outside in the 203, and that's going to be Sapirko following him on through.
2 positions lost there for the GFC driver. And we talk about the issue when you're running in such close quarters with other drivers in this kind of freight train style of racing. If you get knocked offline, if you're just a little bit off pace, everyone is going to want that opportunity to try and mosey on through. And kind of the motto has always been there's no such thing as a one-kart incident, a one-kart pass. So immediately you saw that Sapirko trying to take the advantage of Shore being offline there, and the Jamaican gets pushed back another position.
Yeah, Shore definitely looks like he's losing a little bit of time here. Here's that battle up at the front. Murphy, Bergman, and Steinbrook. Again, don't know exactly what happened to Nico Orbezo, but he has fallen down through the order, and now this three-car breakaway is with Orbezo's teammate, Eli Steinbrook.
Fellow Orsilon teammate fastest on track right now, a 54.62. Best right now, Murphy, a 54.77, 54.70 from Bergman. Still knife edge in terms of pace, but Orbezo using that to work his way into contention. Prime time going to be right here working out of the junkyard corner. Nobody seeming to be just in striking distance just yet, but with 60 seconds on the clock, at least until the twin sticks come out, you get the feeling that Bergman and Steinbridge could be cooking something here.
Is Bergman's bumper pushed down?
Ooh, it might be.
It doesn't that look a little bit low to you?
That might be. I'm definitely seeing it drag just a smidgen.
Yeah,
and that might be our first violation.
Oh!
Here comes Bergman to the inside and will clear without contact to get to the point.
Beautiful pass there by Bergman, and there goes Steinbrook down to the inside, adding insult to injury to Josh Bergman. Bergman led coming into this lap, and he fell down through the order, but we are getting relative confirmation here for Josh Bergman that that bumper is indeed pushed back and dragging a little bit on the ground. That will result in a penalty for the 222.
So new news, actually. We'll kind of use that to segue into the recent changes for Florida Winter Tour, bringing back an older style of how this used to be challenged. But essentially, you've just got one challenge for a pushback violation, much like a MLB manager challenging a call for an ump or a coach for an NFL ref. Pretty much you've got one chance to revoke unless there was some kind of, genuine incident on track where there was nothing you could do about it. It's very much cracking down on relying on the chrome horn a little bit too much. Steinbridge, we looked way further back in the battle because there was some phenomenal wheel-to-wheel stuff. So we could have missed a lot there for Bergman, but I'm not sure. I'll say off rip, looking like it's going to be a rough challenge here for Bergman.
Yeah, just given the positioning, given what we saw, it's not like there was a kart that spun out in front of him. We would have seen that. More than likely, based off the way he and Murphy were running, I'm going to guess that there was a little bit of a bump and run, a little bit of something like that. That's idle speculation, obviously. But that would be what seems most likely here at this point. Nevertheless, Bergman will cross the line right now in P1 to take the white flag. One lap to go here for the GP Juniors.
So now your pseudo battle for the lead becomes the two guys who are still very much in lockstep with one another. Tristan Murphy from the pole had that lead lost, but Eli Steinbridge with an opportunity now to take that win. And we'll see if Tristan Murphy is able to make any moves here. Working down that long sweeping right-hander of turn number 6, using all the curb as possible. A little bit of a peek there into junkyard corner, but he wants to maximize all of that speed coming down the back straight into the hairpin. A little bit of a peek over the shoulder from P2. Steinbridge not able to get there just yet, but one more opportunity for Ascend.
One more to go. Does Murphy try to throw it all away for a win, or does he be content with the P2? No, he's going to look down to the inside of turn 12, but it's not going to play off. Bergman will cross the line in P1. Again, TBD on that bumper. Steinbridge and Murphy will round out your podium. Andres Salazar will be P4, and Katowski rounds out your top 5.
Katowski up 10 positions. Started at the back of the pack. I'm not sure if there was some kind of technical violation on his part. He's been looking fast all weekend, but I think got doxxed by ROK officials for some reason on track. Nevertheless, pace very much still there in the 292. He goes 10 positions to land it in the top 5. Arthur Cordiero, Nico Orbezo, Achilles Saperco, Clayton Stiles, and Brandon Shore for Norberg Academy, rounding out your top 10.
All right, another great race down here, and now we're going to take another quick step away, and when we come back, I will take a quick break away from the microphone, and we will be joined by the indomitable Mr. Jason Ewers.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative Rock Cup USA production.
On to the cadets we go here from OKC for round number 1 of the Florida Winter Tour. We welcome in Jason Ewers as Jackson Lambros with you here as we allow DJ Clark to give an opportunity to catch his breath. But Jason, already we've seen so many of these guys get the fangs out early to maximize that point output for Sunday. And you look at how good the micros and minis have raced historically in Rock. You get a feeling it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, always. You know, these guys are trying to put their flag in the earth, stamp their arrival here at the Florida Winter Tour and be some type of a racer to be reckoned with. You know, I'm looking at the entry list and compared it to what we had in Rock Vegas, and there's a significant amount of fresh names, which is always good. You know, we have the usual suspects out there that we expect to be up front, but, you know, we see some newcomers that are trying out the Florida Winter Tour, and it's great for the program. Great to see some new people come on a national level and experience this.
No surprise at the micro level as well, which we kind of consider step 1 of racing at the national level, at least in terms of two-stroke racing. But they are stacked up early. Saw a great drive from Nico up 10 positions in Heat 1 for GP Jr. His brother Jack leading things off with TKG on pole. Another new guy will be alongside him, Franco Schiavo for TW Racing, one of the home Florida teams. Enzo Ramos a little bit further back for Pearland USA, then Romo Ferrante for Orsilon. GFC Norberg Academy's Dan Cedasculo and Adam Kozakar a little bit further back. Leo Yankowicz, Braxton Shiflett for GFC, Wiley Lee, and Enzo Bortello for Orsilon, rounding out your top 10. 21 deep here in our first running of Rock Micro. Watch Trey Sanders further back, that chrome blue Micro Kart, going to see what he can do with Nash Motorsports. But a Katowski on the front row with a Burrell and Franco Schiavo looking to get things started. We go to the tram lines for 9 minutes of racing and 2 laps, and a lot of drivers out of line. I'm not sure if we're taking the green flag. It is flying, but we will for sure have a couple penalties for some being out of order during the start. Still no issue, or still nothing issued from the timing tower, so we are indeed green. And Katowski leading Schiavo into turn number 4. Couple carts off, big trouble there. That's the 17, Adam Kozakar for AKT.
Yep, always hear that patented Tech Pro thump.
Yeah.
You immediately start looking up when you hear that. So, yeah, this is a good start for Jack Katowski. I mean, they ran last year for the Winter Tour, did well. Jack got the win last week, I believe, with the tour over in Texas. Good win for him. You know, he's been working hard. They were at Vegas, and that was his first event ever on a temporary circuit.
Really?
Yeah, so it was pretty. I was talking to his dad a little bit there, and yeah, it was good. So as we continue on here, Jack continues to lead a little freight train there of Chavaro and Ferrante as they're working their way down the timing and scoring loop.
First time racing in the States for Romero Ferrante. He actually just lost that spot to, I believe, the Parolin of Enzo Ramos. And there might be something out of order here because I believe that's a CRG in P3. I'm seeing some orange and black. I'm not entirely sure who that would be. Or I need to get my eyes checked. Not entirely sure. But Katowski then a little bit further back. That is indeed No, that is Enzo Ramos for Parolin, I believe. No, that is a CRG. I'm not crazy. I think that might have been one of our guys knocked off earlier on. But we will have to see. It's getting spicy, though, here up in front. A little bit of a nudge. It looks like they're bumper to bumper there. Schiavo to Katowski. But we stay relatively tame here to get things started.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like they're just kind of working their way through, checking the laps off every time they go by. Know that the more they battle, we've seen this how many times, the more that you're battling up front, it allows that back group to catch you. So just playing it smart, as we've seen in the past. You know, these young kids are always the smarter ones when it comes to racing out here.
So that is actually Schiavo in the TW Racing CRG. Good job on Lambros for doing that. Romero Ferrante, though, making the move up into P3. Ramos dropping down to P4. Braxton Shiflett up 2 positions in the GFC, just a little bit further back. You just see him into view there. But no pressure out in front just yet for Jack Katowski, as this very quickly has become a study session for the Benek driver just behind him.
Yeah, it's just kind of making themselves known right now, trying to see where your cart is as the race progresses, as you and DJ were talking. Hey, where's our tire pressures at as we're working through these laps? Kind of figure out, hey, does my cart need to be changed a little bit in between the sessions? Or do you kind of leave it where it's at? If it's a little free now, is the track going to grip up and you're going to be dialed in more as the event progresses along? So these are all things these guys, and I mean, even their kids are, 6, 8, 10 years old, 11 years old, they're thinking these things to be able to go back to their pits, talk to their mechanic, their team, and engineer, you may even call it these days, and relay that information off to them just to make that cart quicker.
You jump in kid karts to learn how to drive a vehicle fast. I think it's here, though, in the cadet chassis where you kind of learn the art of really doing wheel-to-wheel racing, learning to observe how to coexist on track with somebody, right? And that's exactly what we're seeing right now with Schiavo and Katowski. Really good exit there coming out of Junkyard. This kind of starting to split into two by two here, with Ferrante trying to fend off from Ramos just a little bit further back there. You saw Braxton Shiflett, number 5 in line there, the Norberg Academy pilot, trying to get into the mix as well. But as you mentioned, really, really big 2025 for the Katowskis. Both Jack and Nico getting wins in both the regional and national level stage, and the family that has very quickly become a big part of Trinity Karting Group, trying to carry as much of that momentum here into 2026.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the Trinity Karting Group is really becoming a known across the nation on both East Coast and West Coast as a threat, on that Borrell banner. Doing a great job. We interviewed those guys last year.
Yep.
I did, and it was great to get to know them. I'm from Indiana. They're from Ohio, so I see them quite a bit. Sean's a great guy, and his wife makes the best-looking slot dogs I've ever seen. I don't know if you saw that interview.
No.
Yeah, we went through and we did what's for lunch one day.
Oh, man.
And we just popped into tents and we saw what people were doing for lunch. And yeah, it was quite delicious looking.
Got to get out of the Rock Cup tent and maybe got to run over to the Red Borrell tent Saturday during lunch. We'll have to wait and see. Looking tasty out in front, though, for Jack. Still on track. 4/10 the gap right now between Katowski and Schiavo, and a relatively tame one to get us started here.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's purple over there right now?
Looking like Ferrante, but the minute I say that, looks like Enzo Ramos just made a move through in that Orsilon machine to get up into P3, or excuse me, looked like there was an attempt to do that. So Enzo Ramos trying to make the move, but fastest lap right now is indeed Ferrante. Quickest right now, Katowski up 3/10 from Franco Schiavo, as Ferrante and Ramos try and give chase. Minute and 20 on the clock, and we'll get the twin sticks out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, it's just amazing, though, the parity that you have. You have the same engine package, but you have different engine builders. But yet you look at the lap times, and they're all so close to each other. So it really does come down to racecraft, chassis setup, and that kid that has the time behind the wheel that can sit there and translate what this chassis is doing is going to be the kids that are going to rise to the top of the pack.
And I think that's what's appreciated by parents getting their kids into the league, right? Because when you're in this era where you're really trying to prove yourself on the national level for the first time, you want it to be off of money and not off of talent. You want it to be a genuine showcase of what you could bring in the next decade and a half at the professional level.
Yes, surprisingly, that's how it's gone that way. Yeah. But it used to be all talent back in the day, but it really is. It is kind of a flash of cash, if you want to say it. But with coming up with 2 to go, let's see if Ferrante has anything for Kwiatkowski. And that third and fourth of Schiavo and Ramos kind of seems like they caught up a little bit. Definitely Schiavo on Ferrante's rear bumper, but we'll see if he can do anything here as they're working their way back through.
Ferrante Ramos and Schiavo kind of too busy battling with one another there. That's kind of what's made it a 2-kart battle, but the Twin Sticks are indeed out for Kwiatkowski. And a little bit of a look further back. Schiavo trying to get that move and not able to fully get it done. Into turn number 4, bumper to bumper contact nearly there, but still not able to make that move.
That battle back there, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th is super tight.
We'll see if we can jump a little bit further back because it looks like the cavalry has indeed arrived for Braxton Shiflett. Charlie Sapowski able to go on through. Trey Sanders up a handful of positions as well as advanced 2. But we look further back. That is the battle pack just behind the Parolin of Charlie Sapowski, just able to put that move on Braxton Shiflett. Trey Sanders and another Norberg in the form of Dan Desclasu. All the curbing being used there through 10 and 11 and coming out of 12. I think comparing this to speed sports, definitely a little bit more elevation, but definitely not something where you feel like you're going to bend a tub going over.
Yeah, speed sports, but that place is picked up. It really ripped up quickly.
Right.
Over there. That has something to say about the Levante tires as well. They do lay down some grip. And when you and Jax are...
I'll have to step away here. Late move for the lead. The Bennett has indeed gone through. Romero Ferrante has blown it open here with just a handful of corners to go. He did it into the junkyard corner, and that'll leave him exposed for a swing back from the Burrell. Still back there in P2. Here's the late lunge from Kwiatkowski. Still open for the switchback. Ferrante able to get there. The Orsolon through. Schiavo on scene as well. Kwiatkowski to the tail of the field. Oh my goodness. He's led every single lap to this point. But Romero Ferrante gonna take the lead and be the first on the lap. That matters.
Wow. I thought Jack was going to be able to hold that and just got a little bound up coming out of the corner. You saw what happened. He went from, first to fourth right there. Only a heat race. Can't beat yourself up too bad.
Right.
You've got the pace to lead. Just continue moving on. Continue with positive thoughts there. I'm sure his dad's not going to be upset with him or anything. He definitely showed that he's top of the pack here. We'll see what happens to the rest of the field as they come through. Who was our biggest mover there, Jackson?
I believe it was Trey Sanders off rip, but I'm actually not entirely sure. So that was actually Max Santana in the 19 for Team Bennick, but not showing up on the top of your list because of a transponder issue, I believe. So I'm not sure if that will be potentially a penalty coming his way, or will we for sure had one ROK official hand scoring that one. But he is your race leader. It is actually Ferrante in P2, Schiavo in second. Kwiatkowski, unfortunately, who came in from pole leading that 4-pack, will have to walk away from it. P4, Enzo Ramos, Charlie Sapowski, Braxton Shiflett, Shamir Lyric, Emmett Dalton, and Wiley Lee rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, that's it's common, especially if you rent the transponder from ROK themselves.
Right.
That's why a lot of guys rent them, because if an issue like that happens, then it's not on you.
Yep.
It's on ROK. So, yeah, hand scored. So it's unfortunate we can't see it up on the score, but I'm sure he will be granted the win on that one.
Cadet action continues here from Central Florida. ROK Mini when we return here from Florida.
Brandon, do I have time to get a battery?
Camera's hot, so hold. Swap a little.
No, you'll have to power off to plug the battery in.
Back here from the Orlando Karting Center for round number 1 of the Florida Winter Tour. I'm Jackson. He's Jason. Our friend DJ Clark joining us shortly here as we get set for heat number 1 of ROK Mini. Isco Alonso, your pole sitter here in the 144. That's the AM Engines machine. The Team Benek driver, Dutch Westbrook, will be alongside him. Leonardo Tavares in third, Aiden Go, nearly a Super Nationals winner in 2025, will start in P4. Newcomer alongside him in row number 3, Colton Brook, Dominic Van Roa, Cooper Lorenzo Lopez, Nico Salazar, Logan Artera, Caden Caladera, rounding out your field of 10. Big wave of velocities. A little bit further back, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 Sodis from P9 back to P12. But Jason, here we go. A little bit older, restrictor taken off. Same action, just a little bit bigger kids.
Yeah, a little bit bigger kids, a little more experience. As we always talk about, best racing that we can see out there. See if they'll keep up with that this weekend. I'm sure they will, but, we'll go through here. And we've got some, just kind of looking to the field here. It's good to see some names that we've seen before.
Right.
It's kind of always great to see the kids go from the micro to mini as they work their way through. But like we said, we've got Nico Salazar here, 7th in Vegas. We got Hudson Hidalgo, who was 5th in Vegas.
Yep.
So some guys that have got some experience.
And just like that, racing for the first time in ROK Mini. Slow start on the outside for Westbrook. The Sodi of Tavares will be able to get there to the point. Isco Alonso out like a cannon in that orange top AM Engines machine, with Tavares giving chase early. A little bit of a shakeup further back as Logan Artera, Caden Caldera go around, and that's trouble for the 106. Samuel Chaveri for PSL getting some issues early on, but cool runnings for Isco Alonso to get us started.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's interesting to see last year when DJ and I were doing this, that outside line is not an advantage at all.
No.
Like, it's such a disadvantage. And as we kind of saw throughout the weekend, was people strategizing to not finish second, maybe finish third or fourth, to put them into that inside line and not necessarily outside line. And as the grip progresses this weekend and you get those marbles pushing out on the outside line, there is some strategy to go along there, because we didn't see any advantage at all for anybody being on that outside line last year.
Not as much at Speed Sports, because very much a longer run, a clean entrance into that corner, right? But you've got a very strange entrance here kind of a little bit of a flick to the left before a full, essentially right-handed hairpin.
Yeah.
So as we've seen, though, what can be a P2 on the start can very quickly become P4. And if you get everything right, P3, you could be winning or leading heading into turn number 4. But early on for Kart breakaway here, maybe a little bit closer to 6. Alonso, Tavares, Westbrook, Colton, Brock, Cooper, Lopez, all the way back here to that parallel of 8 and go! Trouble on the outside! One Kart all the way up into the wall, coming out of Junkyard. I'm not entirely sure who that was. That looked like a GFC.
It did look like a GFC.
And I think he went into the wall. He might have been there for a while. I think that might have been Axel Tibbs in the 145. And that is the first place we've seen an incident like that so far today.
Yeah, usually that Junkyard turn, but there is. Last year, it got kind of dug out.
Really?
Yeah, so as you're kind of coming to the apex, it started getting dug out. I haven't been out there yet to see if they've done the curbing like they've done over here, but, you know, it was becoming quite a hole that your front end would definitely hit and dig into. So that maybe had something to play there. I am not 100% sure, but we'll see.
So question number 1, who was that? Question number 2, what's happened to Dutch Westbrook, the guy who razzle-dazzled us in Vegas? 15 positions up in the main event, is now down 12 spots in heat number 1. He's gone all the way back to 15th, and that Bennick has somehow lost life on track. I think I'm seeing him just directly across from us. That mini power plant might have actually quit on him. I'm not entirely sure, but trouble early for a kid who, I mean, just on talent alone, instantly came into this weekend as a favorite.
Yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of racing left.
For sure.
I mean, you know, when you have talent like that and you have the equipment to back you, you can start from the back, work your way up, get those points, work your way up continually. So, luckily it happened right now. It didn't happen in third heat or the main.
Right. So that'll put P2 to the Sodi of Tavares. You saw that tap of the helmet, giving the message to Cooper Lopez saying, don't pass, we can work together. It's not looking great right now, but we've still got 3.5 minutes. If you give me a little bit of help here coming out of Junkyard, we could very much bring this fight to Isco Alonso. Doesn't look like Lorenzo's listening to him. He immediately made the dive in turn number 8. He'll go up to P2.
Yeah, at some point in time, you want to work with them, but if they're holding you up and
right,
you have the pace to catch the guy, then you got to go.
Just like that, that'll put Aiden Go, the Paralyn 198 on scene. So a 3-kart battle here from second on back to 4th. Really good exit, and maybe we are seeing the advantage here for Cooper Lorenzo Lopez. Still trying to send that message to Aiden Go saying, hey, you want to work together? We could still potentially bring something to the table. We'll see how Aiden responds, working out of turn number 3. That sharp square left-hander into the very weird entrance. Kind of slow then tight. Turn number 4. Aiden Go still putting the pressure on here.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Lopez was being held up a little bit there, kind of checking out slightly, because you can see the gap that's happening right now over Tavares. So we'll see if he has anything for Alonso as this race progresses with just under 2.5 to go, plus the 2.
Big defense there. You see Tavares trying to fend off and white line it into turn number 9. Gives an advantage, actually, to Aiden Go. He didn't go with him. He's still trying to send that message to Go, and I don't think the tie driver is responding. Bumper to bumper here coming out of turn number 12. Are we going to see a move? Gap starting to close as well from Lorenzo Lopez to Alonso. Here comes Go to the inside. The move for the bottom step of the podium will go side pod to side pod. And Tavares able to muscle it out for P3.
Yeah, as you can see, though, that gap was 0.9 for Lorenzo Lopez. Now it's down to just under 6/10. So he's definitely faster than Alonso. Plenty of time on that clock to get on that rear bumper of Alonso to see if he can make a move towards the end of the race.
Time running out, and again, this battle not only has made these two clear of Lorenzo Lopez, but you can see that unmarked 104 is slowly nearing the tracks of that AM machine of Islo Alonso. No move from Go into turn number 9. 80 seconds on the clock. We'll do the twin sticks and do it for 2 more times. After that, the Sodi of Tavares still fending off from Aiden Go, who before a penalty might have been one of the youngest drivers at Super Nationals 28. He's looking to start on the right foot in 2026. Will chuck it to the inside of turn number 1 and work his way to the bottom step of the podium. Immediate head to helmet. Message received, message returned to Tavares, and will immediately give him a taste of his own medicine. We'll go 2 abreast coming out at turn number 4, and Tavares able to battle back.
Great back and forth, but I love it. They keep tapping each other's helmet like, you want to help me, and then next corner around, they just pass each other.
I think it's also like, well, all the big kids do the points of the helmet. I'm trying to send those messages, act like the big guy. It's getting spicy. Up in front, Cooper Lorenzo Lopez still thinking about a move. Not just yet. Still 2 laps to go. Aiden Go with a little bit of a wider entry there. Is there enough to potentially work his way through? Another peak, arcing it so much wider. Little bit of a defensive line there from Tavares, trying to keep that Sodi as wide as possible. And with the twin sticks coming out, Cooper Lorenzo Lopez is right there. We'll look to the inside. We'll take the lead.
Nice. Definitely a faster Kart out there on that late stages of this event. Let's see if Alonso has something for him as we finish, or he's just going to settle in and not settling in.
Defense. Defense from Lopez. Alonso tried the switchback, but he's not able to get there. The Chilean trying to get started in 2026 with a Heat 1 win in Orlando. The American, Cooper Lorenzo Lopez, a mom and pop driver, fending off all the way down. Go further back, clear of Tavares, all the way down to the white line. Alonso trying to go the long way around, not able to get there. We'll try the switchback again. We'll still go too wide. Coming out of turn number 10, Cooper Lorenzo Lopez still hangs onto it in the run to the white flag.
Good battle back and forth. It's interesting, you get Lopez gets up there, catches him extremely, 2-3 laps, takes him, and then once you get by someone, it's so hard to lead a race, Jackson. It's so hard.
Here comes Alonso again. It is difficult, but the inside becomes the outside for Alonso, and Lorenzo still has it. Here's another hefty, hungry dive from Lorenzo Lopez. Side by side in the final 2 laps. You expect anything different from ROK Micro? Aiden Go with all this battling could go onto the scene as well, but Isco Alonso muscles ahead once again through turn 6.
Great battle between those two, and like we said, it's so difficult to lead races. You lose that breaking point. You see the one guy, you can just smell it and taste it, but as we're coming down here to turn number 9, nothing going on there so far, but look who's joined the party right there.
Aiden Go on the scene. Isco Alonso with one last move to the inside. Aiden Go trying a 2-for-1. We'll get best for second. We'll move aside for first. It'll be another 50-yard dash to the line, and somehow, some way, Isco Alonso gonna take it in heat number 1. Woo! Cooper Lorenzo Lopez barely able to get by that Paralympic of Aiden Go for P2. Vicente Aguilar in third was able to get his way into the fight as well. But Cooper Lorenzo Lopez saying, I might not be running out of a big kid tent, but I am here and I am not messing around.
Oh, I love it. Little privateers is where it should be. A lot more of those these days, but so hard because these teams share so much information to kind of be on your own anymore that you need help from teammates to be able to get in there and give you some extra data that they're getting that you may not be getting and stuff that you may not be seeing.
My voice is destroyed. Our energy is through the roof. DJ Clark coming back in with you as we move on to VLR Senior here in Orlando.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative ROK Cup USA production.
Welcome back, race fans. We are here at Orlando Karting Center. DJ Clark back with you with Jason Ewers, and we are up for ROK VLR Senior as we get ready to pull everything up. This is another fantastic run here, Jason, and another great list of drivers ready to add their name to history at the Florida Winter Tour.
Yeah, I think we have 25 plus, 20, almost 30 drivers in this one, which is great for the VLR program. I know this is, if you just watch the Mini, this is the next really step up for the Mini kids to get out of that small chassis, get into an adult chassis, and then step into a little bit bigger horsepower. So I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at the entry list today, so I'm not sure who we have that maybe has jumped up and stepped up from that lesser, the little junior classes that we say into the senior classes. But it's always a great racing. We always see it. Me and you did this race last year, and we saw one thing that I don't agree with, and I think you're with me, is a lot of blocking. Not so much racecraft, just a lot of blocking.
Exactly. We'll have to see if that trend continues here this weekend. Colin Lloyd and Mauricio Hernandez starting off in the pole positions here as the green flag flies, and immediately there you see Lloyd trying to cut off Hernandez as much as possible. Halford going to be able to try to get his way up into P2, it looked like. They're going to continue on their way forward. Joaquin Golero Pizarro also going to be up into the mix, but there, another great fight back. Mauricio Hernandez able to get his way back forward in that SLA karting machine. Everybody through turns nice and cleanly as they work their way down to the back half of the circuit.
Yeah, as they get settled in here, working their way through, everyone's just kind of seeing what the next guy has, where they're braking, where they're not braking. A lot of these guys haven't raced with them yet, not necessarily are with them out in qualifying, or they've been working with them and the practice session. So these are some new people that they're around, so not sure exactly how their racecraft is. So we'll see as they work through. You got to be careful. You don't know. Some guy may brake a little earlier than you. Some guy may get on the gas sooner than you. So all things that you're learning as these opening laps are continuing on.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful to learn those little intricacies of the drivers you are around. You absolutely hit the nail on the head. Sebastian Garzon, a good move up to get his way into P4. Also seeing some moves farther back in the field. But right now it is Lloyd, Halpin, Hernandez, and Garzon, your top four. Really a top three breakaway. Call it a mini breakaway. There they are on your screen. Let's see if there's any more movement down through the rest of the field as they try to go. Lloyd starting to stretch his legs a little bit. Halpern, Hernandez, and Garzon battling it out for that P2 as they work their way down to the junkyard turn.
Yeah, Colin Lloyd got second in Vegas, so we know he's got pace. So he's just continually working that here on the Florida Winter Tour as he's working on lap 3 here. So we'll see if he can get that kart dialed in a little bit more, see if he can get himself a bigger gap, or if the train's going to catch him.
Yeah, and that's going to be the real trick here. I think for Lloyd, he's going to be hoping that there's a little bit more of a battle taking place behind him, but it looks like they're starting to spread out a little bit as now Mauricio Hernandez has been able to get by Garzon as well, and now Hernandez starting to show that qualifying speed with which he qualified in P2, battle farther back in the field as they try to sort themselves out a little bit more. That's another one of the Orsalon machines. I think that's Pizarro and Paramo. As looks like we have got Jackson Lambros. He is down on the spot, ready to go. Jackson, what do you got for us? Looks like we're having some technical difficulties there. Not going to be able to hear from Jackson. We check back in on this battle up near the front of the field. The front is relatively equidistant. They've kind of sorted themselves out a little bit, but that's the 940 machine. That is Paramo, and it looks like Rosso and Resende all trying to sort in behind.
Yeah, that lead for Lloyd is now it went down to 7/10, so it was kind of staying stable there about 2/10. So either Lloyd made a mistake or Hernandez is just kind of picking up his pace a little bit there. So we'll continue seeing what happens as these laps click away.
Little bit of a move there. That's the 976 trying to find a little bit of momentum if they can get it in, or excuse me, the 979. And indeed, they were able to get that move done. Good stuff as they continue to charge up through the field. Love to see that there. And that, again, is on the 940. That's going to put Pizarro down a position. There you can see the front of the field, and you hit the nail on the head there, Jason. It is Hernandez that is caught right up at the back of Colin Lloyd. This battle certainly on.
Yeah, that top four.
Hernandez has got around him.
He did get around him. It's absolutely right. And we got a close battle for the top four right there. You know, it's And I was talking to Jackson earlier about this. You know, you worked with me last year on this event. So it's interesting. A lot of these names are new names, which is great. Bringing in some new talent into the Florida Winter Tour for us, experiencing the VLR package and the Levanto tires. So we'll see as they continue the battle here. We got a move right there. Oh, absolutely move for second place there by Garzon on Lloyd. See if Lloyd can come back and do anything right there, but we will not see until they get through 6, 7, and 8. That junkyard turn, as we like to name it.
Yeah, it looks like there Lloyd's going to try to think about that move coming down into the junkyard turn. Not able to get it done. That's going to be Garzon holding on to the position. And there, that move that we've talked about so many times, drivers hunching down in the seat, trying to minimize that drag coefficient, just get maybe that little extra half a mile an hour down the straightaways.
Every little bit helps, especially when the parity and the closeness of all these chassis and drivers and engine packages are so close these days. Anything you can do to maximize wind resistance is just going to help with that straight line speed.
Yeah, it is. And then obviously through the corners, you want a little bit of that wind resistance. Get the cart to rotate a little bit more as they go. Are we ready to go down to Jackson Lambros? No, we are not. Excuse me. I got a mixed message there from our producers. But up at the front of the field, Hernandez in that D2 Motors cart, definitely holding on, keeping things at bay, and dare I say, starting to stretch the gap over Garzon. It's now 0.3 of a second as they hold, and so they're starting to close in a little bit more behind him. Lloyd and Halpern looking like they could close in. And also, let's welcome to that party in the Norberg cart. That's Tiziano Rosso. That purple machine that you see started to close in on the back as well.
Yeah, I think this is Norberg's first outing for the new team. You know, we interviewed him in Vegas about, you know, him and partnering up with GFC and coming out and kind of running the East Coast portion of that. But, you know, seems to have some good pace with his team out here right now. The team seems to be battling for the lead, or at least top fives currently. So we'll see if they can continue using that Ryan Norberg experience as we got a pass for the lead right here. Garzon back up top on that Orsilon, working their way through to 5 into the 6, 7, and 8. And I was talking to Jackson about the 8 last year, how dug out it started to get in that junkyard turn. I'm trying to see if they ended up paving it like they did coming out of 4.
They did.
They did pave it.
They did pave it.
Oh, we got 919 is into the barriers.
And hard into the barriers there, it looks like. That's going to be into turn 1. I'm going to guess there. That's Gerardo Moreno, it looks like. So definitely some contact involved with that. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Garzon trying to stretch his legs to see if he can gain a little bit of an advantage now over Hernandez and the like. As there you see that duck once again. Colin Lloyd's worked his way back up into P2. So Lloyd going to be the one trying to put the pressure to the back of Sebastian Garzon. We've got about 2 minutes and 10 seconds left, of course, plus those 2 laps at the end of the race.
Yeah, as they continue cranking on these laps, let's see what happens with the middle of the pack to the back of the pack. I'm kind of looking at timing and scoring right now, and everything's pretty spread out through the back of the pack. Are we going to go Jackson this time?
All right, down to Jackson Lambros. What you got, Jackson?
Well, we talked about the brand new rules here, DJ. Talked about it a little bit as well with Jason Ewers with this pushback violations. That's what's made Brunel Valverde come into the pits early. The Orsilon driver spun on lap 1, had another driver go in, and saw that it was off brackets, decided to come into the pits early. Now, Jason, we know that this is to increase the quality of racing, but we talk about this new challenge system for the pushbacks. This is something that could maybe go back and bite people who don't necessarily deserve it.
Well, you're going to have exact, definitive evidence. You know, you're not going to go throw your challenge flag out there if you have any type of offerings that it's not going to actually happen. So, you know, you're going to have video evidence that shows this is exactly what happens. ROK did a good job at establishing the rules in the entry fees or in the entry sheets. Everyone knows what they are. So when they bring that protest in, they better have some significant evidence that proves it right.
Exactly. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, 2-car breakaway official, let's call it, Garzon and Lloyd. They're going to come to the line to get 3 laps to go. Hernandez holding in behind. And I've got to give credit here to Tiziano Rosso. doing a really good job. He actually may have made his way up into P3. Let's get a different shot here. No, he's still back in P4, but doing a fantastic job keeping Halfin at bay as things stand. But Lloyd crowding the back of Garzon as they come out of turn 3 right now. Is he going to take a poke to the inside? No. I think Lloyd's being smart about this. He recognizes he's got the speed, but doesn't want to show his hand too early.
Yeah, you know, that's exactly what you want to do. It's like a lot of racing left. No reason to push your equipment. No reason to, you know, they're on these sets of tires until the main. So there's no reason to burn anything up that you don't need to burn up. But as Jackson and I were talking about, and we noticed this last year, and I mentioned this earlier, that outside lane on the start is not where you want to be.
For multiple reasons. Number one, you get some dirty out into that outside, maybe a little bit of the slip as on the tires as you go. And then secondly, it's just an unpreferred line going down into that corner, and it can really throw you off. So you really don't want to be starting in those even-numbered positions. And I was thinking the exact same thing, watching some of these starts from the downbeat here, that it is a little bit more difficult to get those moves. We've seen the inside lane just working so much better.
Yeah, it's such a long way around those corners from the outside. On the inside, you can really hug it and take a lot of that real estate out as you're working your way through, you know, 2 and 3. If you're on the outside, it is a long way around those corners.
It really and truly is. All right, officially on the 2-lap to go mark here. Garzon continues to lead from Lloyd, from Hernandez. And now it looks like Hernandez has been able to catch up to the back of the pack. Rosso and Halpin still closing in, still involved in this battle. Paramo and Rivera not too far behind either. So if something catastrophic happens up the front of the field, they're going to be ready to pick up the pieces. But regardless, will be a good points day for them. Is there, we see a little bit of a poke to the outside.
Oh, big
for
move
Hernandez.
for Lloyd right there
Big
to make
time.
the pass on the outside, which we don't see very often here.
I think he was listening to us and trying to prove us wrong there, is my sneaking suspicion. Here comes Garzon,
Right
back down
at
to the inside, and here comes Hernandez trying to make it a 2-for-1. They go down into turn 5, trying to sort themselves out. Lloyd not out of the battle yet, and it looks like, though, that's going to be Hernandez able to just eke ahead.
Yeah, let's see what happens as we go to that junkyard turn onto that backstretch into 9 to see what they can do, see if Lloyd has anything for them. As you can see, who is that? Rosso sitting, stepping out, making a huge defensive move right there.
Hernandez looking for a crossover, looking for an outside run around turn 9. That won't play out. Now he's got to worry about Colin Lloyd coming up to attack him into turn 10. And that is music to the eyes here of Sebastian Garzon, who's going to scamper off into the distance, look towards the timing line, and he will take victory. A fantastic drive for Sebastian Garzon. Mauricio Hernandez will take P2, Colin Lloyd P3. And I want to give massive credit here to Tiziano Rosso, who did a fantastic job working his way up through the field. That is going to be up 2, but into a P4. Of course, one of your big movers is Garzon, up 4 on the deck.
Yeah, good move, good drive for Garzon. I think we're going to go to Jackson here in a little bit, so he's going to be down at the scales.
All right, as we continue to wait to see exactly what's going to go down, we may have Jackson Lambros to give us a quick little update. We're waiting to see right now. Jackson's just getting himself set, and so they're going to, we'll have an update on what that is here. As won't be too long. We are going to get something from Jackson. It's just a matter of when. And so he is hustling away there. And obviously, thank you for bearing with us. First day here, getting all of our technical things lined up and set in stone. So very good to be able to see. And we're trying to be able to get him on the mic here, as I think Jackson is ready to go. Jackson, we got you?
I do, and I'm standing by here with our Heat 1 winner, Sebastian Garzon for Orsalon Racing and OTK. Sebastian, looked fun out there. Talk to me about that battle for the lead with Colin.
We lost him.
I'm out. It was a little bit difficult, but then the tires came in, and I started to push. I passed both, and then the draft is giving like 210, so it was like almost impossible to get far. And the last 2 laps, like I've been learning like too much, like how to defend. Just started learning more about the drivers I'm fighting for the final. and get better with the car and the motor for final.
How important is it going to be? We see this level of aggression from you guys this early on. How badly do you need these points for the pre-final? Why are we seeing such aggression here? Is it knowing that anything could kind of happen towards the pre-final?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone, like this championship, like every hit counts for the point. So everyone wants to fight for this championship. So every point counts. So yeah, like to learn how the drivers run and for the final and pre-final to fight with them.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you.
A Colombian beats out a Costa Rican, and with France, Argentina, America, and the DR, you've got 6 nationalities in your top 6 here, DJ.
Thank you so much, Jackson, and I love seeing you do math on the spot. That was fantastic as well.
I am not good at it.
There's a reason why we got into commentary. All right, we're going to take another quick break away from you, and then we will be back as we get ready for VLR Masters and Super Masters.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative Rock Cup USA production.
Two more races to go on the day, and first up, it's going to be VLR Masters and Super Masters. Always a super fun category here, Jason. We've got a lot of experience, a lot of drivers that know what they're doing. We see some of the best strategic driving, I think, of the day.
I don't know. I see some of the dumbest driving I've ever seen in my life coming as a Masters driver or a Super Masters driver. Yeah, there's some, I don't know, I think we still live in our dreams of being the next Mario Andretti or something, thinking that maybe some IndyCar teams out there looking and needing some old gray-haired guy to fill a seat in Indy. I don't know. But that being said, you know, I was coming in, you know, I flew in today. Boy, my arms are tired. And I ran into, first person I ran into was Scott Falcone.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's continuing that weight loss that we saw in Vegas. He lost, you know, a tremendous amount of weight to run Vegas, and he's still continuing. He looks great. You know, we got talking about that because I've dropped some LBs myself, and it's amazing how different a kart reacts and how much better it is to be in a go-kart the lighter you are. It's just unbelievable. Like, people like weight. Like, you have to be, you know, 365 or 360 and a kart to make it work. It's that movable weight that's the problem. You know, if you're 210 pounds and you're in a go-kart and that weight is bouncing around, it puts completely different forces on a go-kart chassis and tires than what a guy is who's 180 and has strategic weight put on the go-kart where it needs to be. So I think Scott's understanding that. You know, to me, he's going to be probably one of the front runners. I believe he is, what, in Supermasters?
He's P2 in Supermasters. Gabriel DeLuca is going to be above him in Supermasters.
And is that Mardan on the pole right there?
It's actually not. not. It's Ramahalo is going to be on pole. Mardan to his outside and Saldita behind them.
Okay.
So we're going to have to see how Mardan responds to this tricky outside lane as there they get going. And immediately there you see Mardan trying to cut off and cover off Ramahalo, but Ramahalo's not going to let him go, and it looks like Dita's going to be able to follow him on through, and Mardan's going to get shuffled down to third place.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here, too. It's good It's good to see Elefante here. I spoke with him a little bit. We got a car out right here. Who is that? Looks like chain got popped off is my guess, what they're looking at. I don't know why he's trying to do his own mechanic work there, but you're already locked in many places behind, so just park it. And I know you want that data to be able to get up and report back to your engineer. But like I was talking about, talked to Paul Elefante a little bit. Good to see him. He was in Vegas, took some time off for some health issues. Looks like he's back strong. Worked his way up in Vegas, did very, very well out there as he started getting his racing seat back underneath his bottom right there. But we'll see how we're going here as Ramalo is leading, followed by Mardan.
No, it's Dita. Dita was able to get the jump.
All right, well, there we go.
I think Ramahalo may have been the one that had the issue there.
Yeah, I can't get the number over there. Old man eyes over here.
I have middle-aged eyes, and I can't even get them. But nevertheless, it is Saldita that's up into the lead. Mardan is P2, Elefante P3. That's a good jump for him, up one position. I want to give some credit here to Devereaux and Bernabeu, as both of them up 3 and 4 respectively. Alexander Delbon up as well. Scott Falcone's dropped a couple of positions.
Yeah.
But here comes that attack from Lorenzo Mardan. Of course, one of the biggest names in the sport. Mardan definitely on the attack here. Saldita's going to have his hands full.
Absolutely, and I've raced against. I'm looking at the list here. Like I've raced against 5 or 6 of these guys.
There it is,
so,
right down to the inside of turn 12. Done and done, Lorenzo Mardan.
Yeah, Mardan is. He's the techno, the only guy, sole guy on a techno chassis. Out of Chicago, Illinois. So he's been with that chassis brand for a long time. Some really cool innovations with that chassis. But Mardan's made that kart look fast everywhere he goes and continues that on today as we're working our way through about lap 3. Let's see if he can just get that check out over Dita and see if Devereaux has anything on them. Right now, the gap between Dita and Mardan was 0.13. Visually, it's bigger than that on the video replay here for you guys. So we'll see what happens as we're going down into turn 9. Elefante's up to 4th. Good run for Paul right now. All right, I think we're going to go to Jackson right now with some reporting.
And Jason, the 23-year-old eyes can confirm that is Danilo Romolo, who went off in the 718 for D2 Motors and was actually talking to the officials there, trying to see if he could actually get the chain popped back on. As someone kind of layman to karting, I'm not sure if you can tell us how difficult that is, but he was trying to get his fingers in there with the gloves on. I'm not sure if that's a kind of thing you can do just trackside.
Yeah, you usually can, actually. There's enough play in the chain. The last thing you want to do is that chain to be tight, because as that axle flexes, you don't want it to put a bind on the chassis. So you can usually get it started and pop it on and roll it back onto the rear sprocket on that thing. If it comes off on the front sprocket, it's a little different because you get your chain guard on there. And I think I was replying to a DJ here. I was like, just park it, let it be, chalk it up as a mistake or whatever happened on this one. And, I know you want to get out there and get as much data that you possibly can, but, it's the end of the day. See where they're at tomorrow. 2 more races tomorrow for these guys. So plenty of time on the track for him to be able to get some more data back to his team.
Yeah, you've got time before the pre-finals. Want to give credit here to Dan Devereaux as he's starting to climb his way through the field. He's up into P3. We mentioned that earlier, up 4 positions from his start. But the Englishman did set the fastest lap of the race last lap, not on the current lap, but he's catching up to the back here of Saldita. I think we could be in for a little bit of a battle for P2.
Yeah, it was 1.26 at the stripes last time, so let's see where that is when they're coming across. But like you said, the time on the clock is the last time they went across timing and scoring, but you can physically see it closing on the track.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do and if he's able to close that back down. And Bernabeu as well, also starting to maybe just hold on to the back coattails there. Scott Falcone's day kind of going from bad to worse. We mentioned him earlier. He's down in P10. Remember, started up second in that Supermasters category. Something just not seeming right with that 99.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something wrong with the tuning of the carburetor on it, or just kind of went the wrong way on a setup. Kind of surprised what's going on with him right now, and it's, he's running with Peter Cook. I ran with Peter quite a bit with another series in the Midwest. Great guy. I noticed he moved down here to Florida, so got out of that cold Chicago weather and was enjoying himself some South Florida sunshine. As you can see, Mardan pretty much has this under control. That gap just continues to grow between him and Saldita. Saldita is about 1.64 over Devereux. Let's see where that is as they come across the stripes the next time, as Mardan is going down Junkyard Corner into turn 9. Pretty much everyone's pretty evened out on this race. Not a lot of activity going on currently.
No, and I think that's both good and bad for these drivers. It's definitely good in the fact that you're able to just click off some laps. You talked earlier about the data that you're able to bring back to your engineer. Just kind of get a feeling for the kart, how everything's going to feel, and roll that into it. It's bad because you also want to know how the kart feels going wheel to wheel. That's a big part of it, and you need to get that information. Scott Falcone, by the way, I think something's wrong with that kart. He looks slow. Excuse me, that's the 29 we're watching. That's Alexander Dalbon, and Ale Javier just absolutely passing Dalbon like he's standing still. Something may be wrong with that 29.
Yeah, who knows what happened. Could have went off and hit. I mean, these curbs are ginormous out of here. You could easily bend a spindle and take some of the caster and camber out of the cart, which just completely changes the way that cart handles and takes away, straight line speed. So who knows what happens, when we're not able to see everything going on the track. But as they're working their way through, I think they're coming up to the start-finish line here soon. We'll get a new update on the gaps between the leaders here. As I'm seeing, right there. 127, so yeah, another 10th.
Yeah, and Devereux is starting to lose a little bit of time there as well. It was down at about 0.6 of a second. It's now grown to about 0.9, so definitely some gaps starting to play out. We continue to watch Dalbon right now. Now, he's at risk here. Remember, Dalbon is a Supermasters driver. Gabriel De Luca, who's coming up behind him, is P2 in that Supermasters category, and Tony Paolo is not too far behind either. So this is a battle for the top spot in the Supermasters class, and Dalbon looks like he's in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and something happened to Elefante, too, because he worked his way all up to 4th there. Now he's down all the way down to 11th. I'm not sure what exactly happened with him. Keep an eye on that. But, yeah, it's great. Like, I love seeing the mixed classes almost, a la, sports car racing.
Exactly.
There's no reason why you can't do it. These guys, just because you're 40 and over 50 and under 30, it's all race the same. It's all a weight relationship is where we got to get into it. But
I very much consider it like when you look at the races that are running about 100 miles or so east of here. Over in Daytona, GTD in that category. That it is a lot of, not a lot of differences. It's GTD to GTD Pro. GTD Pro, you're going to have some of the younger drivers, some of the more professional, quote-unquote, drivers, and then you've got some of the more amateur gentleman drivers racing in GTD.
Yep, absolutely, and that's, all these guys have been doing it for a long, long time, but yeah, that's a good analogy on that. I think that translates very, very well to this type of blended class that we see out there. Run together, scored separately.
Exactly. Very similar machinery as they go. There is Mardan up at the front of the field, a sight that we are used to seeing and one that he is certainly used to being in. That's 782 just doing a great job keeping things together. 1.6 seconds the gap he has over Saldita. We thought for a second Dita was going to be able to challenge him. Indeed, Dita was ahead. But I think that, once again, can be played down to what we talked about a lot last year. We really banged that drum, and I think we're going to have to come back to it again. And it's really a situation where you do not want to be starting on the outside of these races.
No, and I really do think, and if Jackson's listening, if he can maybe grab some drivers out there and see how much of a strategy that is for them as they're going in, because we do see a lot of battle for that first pace spot, right? You know, and early heat races. So it's like, okay, there is a significant advantage of starting on pole instead of off pole. So 2 to go as he just went past the stripes right there from our Dan, making that techno kart look great. It was fun watching him in Vegas.
Yeah,
he struggled early and worked his way up, kept working the cart, and was really kind of right up there in the end, and really representing a sole brand that no one else runs in the country.
I mean, it's one of the things that makes karting great is that if you have the technical know-how and you really understand how a kart works for you directly, it allows you to come on in. Well, we sit here with 2 laps to go, but that does not mean that our Jackson Lambert has stopped working. Jackson, what you got?
Not an update, more of a opinion in that I cannot agree more in how phenomenal it is to see a chassis that isn't, I'm saying this with an air quote right now, mainstream succeed. You obviously see it with Mardon and Techno Kart. You look at our friend Ryan Kasner really flexing Best Kart's muscles at Vegas. Morn Von Talk, the whole gang bringing over RS Kart, Ralph Schumacher's line, and pretty much Formula K as a whole trying to get bigger, at least on the West Coast. But Jason, you for sure are going to be able to kind of hold a candle to this. You, especially at the master level, you see a lot more variety in terms of the steel on track.
Yeah, I mean, I personally always like to run off-brand stuff, like not the mainstream. Sometimes that
off-brand, not in a bad way, by the way.
No, not a bad name, not in a bad way at all. It's just kind of, I always like to be different. I run a remote-controlled car. I actually own a remote-controlled car track, and I run not name brand stuff. I like to run the lower and help support those people who are trying to grow their brand. I don't know if I'm the best person to be growing their brand, because I'd rather put like a Ryan Norberg in something like that who can actually go out and win. But that being said, Mardan's just done a great job at sitting there building his brand and really showing it, which I'm shocked. But what this has a testament to say, though, is he can tune his chassis because he knows that he's confident with the Levanto tires are consistent. The VLR engine is a very consistent engine. So those takes 2 worries out of your equation that allows you to really sit back and just focus in on tuning that kart and what it needs to do.
And Marden doing it once again. 1.6 seconds the gap as he crossed over the stripe over Saldita. How good hold off there for Alexander Del Bon to be able to hold off Gabriel De Luca. Tony Paolo going to come home P3 in that Super Masters category. Another great race here that we saw once again. Maybe one that's got a little bit more potential to come later as these drivers start to tune in a little bit more. But of course, as soon as I say that, you're also going to give Lorenzo Marden more time to tune in, and so he could maybe stretch his legs up at the front of the field. But that is a question for tomorrow. Today, we have but one more race to be able to go in on. That's VLR Junior. Coming at you after this.
Sorry about that. It's being weird, like the pan wants to drift on its own. I actually don't even see it very well.
Welcome back to the Orlando Kart Center. We wait for some interviews down on the scales to see where everybody's turned out as we wait eagerly for ROK VLR Junior, your final race of the day. Just about 10 minutes behind schedule, courtesy of that red flag that we saw a little bit earlier on in the session. That was for ROK VLR Junior. All right, Jackson, what do you got, my friend?
I have your leaders in Masters and Supermasters. Let's get started here. Laurentiu Mardan, the one-man techno machine. You've got a heck of an engine underneath you, though, my friend. Talk to me about that heat.
My friend Ariel gave me an engine this weekend and a chassis because we didn't have the team coming. We just saved some money on the trip, and we are pitting with him, and we get full support. So thank you for that to Ariel. Yeah, engine is good, feels okay. Chassis standard, as normal all the time. So just learning something new this weekend, and yeah, fun. For me, it's fun. I mean, the go-kart is good.
What's the confidence level going in for you tomorrow?
I'm okay. Yeah, I just have to stay clean, and we'll be fine.
Thanks, Laurentin.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that was Martin, your winner here in the VLR Masters category. And now we go from the older folks to the young guns coming up here in ROK VLR Junior. Nico Katowski, Isaac Malkut, Darren Kidd, Maxwell Macha, Nico Orbezo, all ready to come up. Orbezo we've seen a little bit earlier on in the running. Good to see him back as well.
Yeah, this is the first group that we're going to see the young kids who have played double duty.
Yep.
So you got the junior GP, and then you got the VLR junior. So a lot of these guys that run the GP junior are also running the VLR junior. So, you know, as you can see, Nico Kotowski is one of them that's doing that as well. And we're looking right here. It's like, you know, Charlie Moran is doing the same thing. Champ Chambers, you know, so he's doing senior VLR. But yeah, it's just interesting. They're young. They can handle it.
Yeah, their bodies can handle it. They're not old folks like you and I.
No.
But we've got to, you know, worry about the shot to the kidneys hurting you for 3 days.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to see. You know, TKG's just done such a great job. You know, we watched them last year, and you know, I interviewed Sean and the team, and Gavin was here last year as well, and it was interesting because he was the first one that was talking about the new aero system on the go-kart and how you actually truly get an aero push going through the corners now with how the aero package is with the go-karts. Yep. And to me, I just couldn't, you know, I've been in karting, you know, 40 plus years of my life, and I'm like, I've never experienced that. But as you start looking at the nuances of the aero packages, the front nose and the fairing, yeah, it's all together, and it does make sense. So that might be another reason why we see some of the karts just getting up close and then end up pulling away, just get a little aero push going to the corner. It doesn't take much to lose that momentum just to have a guy kind of check out on you. But as we're about ready to take green here, DJ.
It is going to be Nico Katowski and Isaac Malkut up at the front of the grid. Malkut on that unpreferred side. A lot of smoke coming off of these karts, but there goes the green. Couple of drivers banging into each other as they get going. Malkut trying to get very aggressive around the outside. Big stack up, come through the middle, but everybody gets through cleanly. Oh, except for I think that may have been Malkut that got bumped off. Oh, my goodness gracious. We've got a lot of calamity there coming down through the corner, and even more coming down into turn 4.
We got 2 karts hooked right there coming out of 4. Now it's called about a 6-kart pileup right here.
Oh, my goodness. I see the 888 of
815, 888, 814.
I see quite a few others that have been involved in that. That's all farther down the field that have gotten into trouble there, it looks like. The 815 and the 814 trying to get those numbers right now.
815 is Eduardo Ferreras Fijal.
Heartbreak there for that opening run. All right, they're going to come back by the stripe here at this point. And we're going to get an idea. Katowski, Macha, Malkut was able to stay. That was not him that went out. He is back in 3rd place. Orbezo is up into 4th. Steinbrook into 5th. All right, so that is your top 5. Got another kart off there. That looks to be the 822, I think. That's going to be another one farther down in the order. But my goodness, a lot of attrition here early on.
Yeah, really early. It didn't help when you had a 6-car pileup.
And it sounds like we're going to have a replay here of some of that opening lap calamity. Let's go over and check that out. Here it is down into turn 4. First couple get through cleanly. We saw one kart get a little bit sideways in the middle, and then, oh, he got hooked up underneath, and that just caused a big old stack up.
Yeah, big old stack up right there. So unfortunate for the mid-pack guys right there, but that allowed the top group to kind of get a nice little gap on everybody else. As you can see, the 3-kart pileup right here. is doing well. So with leading by that TKG kart.
Yeah, and there it is. It's Katowski. Macha doing a good job. He actually got very slideways coming into turn 10, was able to keep it together, and or excuse me, into turn 12, and was able to keep that together. Malkian also being able to hold in. I'm curious to see here if Nico Arbezo is going to be able to close in and keep that close in behind, as he's got the likes of Steinbrook and Cameron Johnson behind him to worry about. 6.5 minutes left on the clock. We focus in on that lead battle of Katowski, Macha, and Malkian.
Yeah, I think this is the first year that Cam's moved up to the junior ranks. I believe Mini last year, I interviewed Cam and his tuner last year when we were here. And, you know, definitely a talent. He's done very well in that Mini. And obviously he's continuing that pace on here into the junior level. You know, it was interesting. I was interviewing a little kid who's been driving Mini, and he moved up to junior. And first thing he told me is, like, I have a new respect for the junior drivers. It's so much more difficult to drive these cars with the full-size tires and the small tires and with the extra horsepower. So interesting to see that, you know, the kids that can make that jump up successfully, just as like Cam Johnson has done.
Well, and it's, if they're going to follow a career in motorsport, it's going to mirror what their career is over time. Whether you're jumping up in single-seater category or GT racing, it's wider tires, more horsepower.
Yep.
But sounds like, ooh, just went up and over in front of us. But we're going to go down to Jackson Lambros, who's got an update as far from pit lane.
On the guy in second, Maxwell Macho. We saw him in victory for ROK Vegas, but that was in ROK Mini, making the move up to full-size karts, or excuse me, cadet karts, and getting almost double the power. Talking to him this morning, DJ, he's loved every moment of the change.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Doing well so far in the bigger chassis.
Love to hear that. Maxwell Macho looking pretty racy here up behind Nico Katowski. That gap came down to 0.07 across the line, and he is definitely hounding the back of that 892 here. Not really taking a move down into turn 5, but he's going to keep things together and keep himself pushing ahead. That gap's only about a single kart length as they now go into turn 6. Let's see if anybody's going to be brave into turn 8, the junkyard turn. Looked like there for a second Macho was thinking about it, but not quite close enough. And there you can see a little bit that exit of turn 8 in particular. That's really where we saw that big rut being dug out. They have paved over that, and they've put that pseudo AstroTurf down there, the sort of hexagonal pieces. So it still hurts you, it's still bumpy, but it's not going to depress and create that rut.
Absolutely, as we see Macha all over the back of Katowski right now. And, you know, Malkut was our winner in Vegas, so obviously still keeping the pace up starting the 2026 season. See if he has anything from the top 2 here as we're working through 4 into 5.
All right, here comes the more pressure from Maxwell Macha, trying to see if they're going to be able to get anything. Once again, this is where he looks really strong, almost pushing Katowski through the corner. There you see some of that runoff that I was talking about, and you can visibly see the karts shake and shimmy as they come across that line. Macha here, I'm impressed with his patience right now. He's clearly got the speed to make a move on Katowski, but he's waiting for the right moment.
Yeah, you know, I think it's one of those where, you know, we heard Garzon talk about that, learning your drive, you know, learning your competitors. The best way to learn is be behind. Where is he braking at? Am I going to brake deeper than him normally here? You know, where am I faster? Where is he faster? Those types of things. So he's just, you know, clicking all this data in his head, because you know these guys are all going to be racing each other all weekend long because they're on the front of the pack. So, all right, we're going to go to Jackson with an update.
Carnage report so far, guys. 2 Brazilians actually out and abandoned on the racetrack. The Orsolana Filo and the Sodi of Ramponso. 1 retirement after that. Charlie Marone, the Floridian, driving at home for U-Race, came in jumping with a bent rear axle and looked like a little bit of a sprained wrist, a little bit of hurt, but was able to push that kart over the scales, guys.
All right, thanks, Jackson.
All right, good updates from the pits. Again, that is Jackson Lambros, our man on the ground. You'll hear him back in the booth on the second half of tomorrow's broadcast as we keep our eyes fixed on this really fascinating battle for the lead. Under 2.5 minutes left to go, plus 2 laps, obviously, but these top 3 have really broken away. It's about a let's call it 2.5, 2.4 second gap between Eli Steinbrook and Isaac Malka in third. but definitely a 3-kart breakaway up front.
Yeah, it's you have 3 different manufacturers too. You got a Burrell leading it, you have a Parolin second, and you have an OTK third. So, it's interesting to see that. You don't have to be. There's not one chassis that's definitely necessarily more dominant than other chassis out there right now. We know that Tony Kart and Burrell all make top of the line equipment. Same thing with Parolin. So it's just great to see that it really does come down to driver. It's not one chassis is technically really better than the other. But as you can see, Macha is all over the back, just giving some serious work to Katowski right now. Is this going to let Malkut kind of come up and close that gap a little bit here? Is Katowski holding up Macha? We don't know yet.
Yeah, we're not really sure. We're just going to have to see. Comes down through turns 1 and 2. Their way around. Here comes a little bit of a look from Macha. Down into turn 4. Gets the move done. Easy as you please. No fight back from Katowski. That was pretty from Maxwell Macha.
Very smooth. And I think he's been setting that up the whole time, knowing that I go a little deeper into this corner than he normally does and just kind of pokes his nose out. Waits about a half a second before he hits his brakes and then makes that clean, perfect pass. Now we'll see what his pace really is right now as he leads going into 9.
Yeah, and he's already got a little bit of a gap. It has come down a little bit. Obviously, the accordion effect coming into play as they break into turn 9, but I'd call that about a kart length and a half, almost verging on 2 kart lengths in between Macha and Katowski as they get up to speed. Going to come across the stripe here. This will be 3 laps to go at the line. It does look like Katowski's been able to fight back a little bit, so maybe calling me a liar there is Nico Katowski. We may not be done with this battle quite yet.
Yeah, I was telling you, it's so hard to lead races and keep a gap. Like, you have to be just absolutely dialed in to be able to do it, and it's so hard because as a racer, when you're trailing behind someone, you're using that cart in front of you as your braking distance. And it's like, I'm going to brake a little deeper or I'm going to hold my gas a little longer than what they are to try to catch them. And when you don't have those reference points, you're just going on complete field.
Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult. It's one of those things that you have got to have that X factor, that, as you said, the feel for it. You have to be able to play with it. Looks like right now they will come to the stripe. There are the twin sticks in the air. 2 laps to go. Katowski not letting them go anywhere. Malkut doesn't quite look like he has the outright pace to keep up with this battle. That gap's about 2 kart lengths, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that if we see Katowski and Macha start to fight, Malkut is going to be all over this.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens as they continue on with, about a lap and a half to go. I think Macha pretty much has control of this race, but we'll see. As we speak, Malkut ends up closing up on Katowski as we're going into the junkyard turn, heading down to 9.
Yeah, and there the gap. All that about 2 kart lengths down into the braking zone for turn 9. And now the advantage shifts back and forth a little bit. You see that hop, skip, and a jump there from Katowski, kind of jumping in the seat, pushing himself forward, trying to see if he can get a little bit of a better run. Didn't necessarily play out. Now that gap is expanded here. Call it about 3-4 kart lengths. It's about 0.3 of a second between Katowski and Macha, and Malkut falling behind a little bit.
Malkut may not want to be on that outside lane.
Yeah.
Big dive in for Katowski right there and made it stick.
And here comes Malkut to the outside looking for a crossover. Not going to get it done, but you hit the nail on the head there, Jason. That was a beautiful move by Nico Katowski.
I don't think Katowski wants anything to do with that outside lane going into the Heat 2 tomorrow. So we'll see what happens as we go down. Is he going to play a very defensive move here? Doesn't look like it so far. Let's see if Macha's going to do anything about it. At the last second, he darts his kart on the inside to protect that brake zone as they're working their way through to 10, 11, and 12. Up on those curbs.
He's thinking about it. Yeah. Is Macha, here it is. That's going to be a drag race to the line. Who's going to have it? Is it Macha? Is it Katowski? At the line, it's Katowski.
2 thousandths of a second.
Oh, that's what you love to see to end the day here at the Florida Winter Tour.
Great race.
My goodness gracious. Nico Katowski and Maxwell Macha putting on a show here at the Orlando Kart Center. That is what you love to see.
Absolutely, and that's a great way to end the first day of racing going into tomorrow.
It certainly is. I'm sure we'll be holding on here for maybe an interview with Jackson Lambros with our winner. So let's just run you through what we've got going on tomorrow. We'll be back at you for Heat 2. That'll be starting at about 9 o'clock Eastern Time. There or thereabouts. Then we're going to have run through the same schedule we did. That'll get us up to about 11:25 or so. We're going to take a little break away for lunch. We'll be back with you at about 12:20 for heat number 3. And then at about 2:15, 2:20, it's going to be time for the pre-finals. And that's going to grid everything up for our finals on Sunday. Those will be starting at about 10 o'clock on Sunday. Again, all those times are Eastern time. So make sure you keep your eyes on that. But I got to tell you, if anything, if the racing is like we've seen today, we are in for a real treat here. We have heard that there is maybe a threat of rain. I haven't heard anything about thunderstorms, so it won't run in the rain.
Last year, every time we've been here, it rained. So
yeah,
it's part of being in Florida. You know, the weather's up and down. Cold today. Tomorrow it's going to be in the mid-70s. A little bit different. A lot of more heat in the track, more grip for the drivers, more rubber is going to be laid down. If we don't get that rain, we'll see what happens. And we talked about this last year a little bit if you guys were here with us. What's the strategy on tires? Are you going to pre-final? Is the guys in the back going to slap on a brand new set to see if they can work their way up a little bit higher for the final position on Sunday? Not quite sure, but we'll see if Jackson has anybody here. Jackson?
Standing by with your winners for heat number 1, Nico Katowski. Dude, did you even think you had that at the last lap? Talk to me about that run to the finish there.
It was really close, and then Isaac bumped me. So after I felt the bump, I think I felt like I won. And then I saw Diego and my dad telling me that I got first, so I was pretty happy.
Obviously, a really, really big tussle at the front. What can you share about just how hard it is to hold the lead, especially with this engine package?
If you defend too much, they can kind of cross you, just like Max did in the last corner. And I don't know, it's just basically all draft, so it's kind of hard to hold the lead on the last lap.
Let's go over to the guy really quick. That was second place, Maxwell Macha. Max holding it for a long time there, not able to get it done in the lap that counted. Talk to me about what feels maybe like is missing still in the Paralympic.
I think everything is fine, maybe just a little mistake by me, but I think everything is pretty fine, and for my debut in the U.S., I think it's pretty good, so yeah.
What's it been like this first week, all of these big changes for you? What has the instant reaction been like for you?
It's been like up and down, so yeah, I feel great, so yeah.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah.
Well, guys, day 1, and already we're having some serious fun here in Florida.
Wouldn't expect anything but that. Thank you, Jackson. Good interviews.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap us up for the day here from the ROK Cup Florida Winter Tour. It's been a pleasure to bring you all the action here from the Orlando Kart Center. On behalf of Jason Ewers and Jackson Lambros, my name has been DJ Clark. We will see you back here tomorrow at about 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Until then, see you on the track.